6 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The LA Kings defeated the Nashville Predators 6-1 last night in the City of Angels. The Kings jumped out to a 3-0 first period lead with all three goals scored within the game's first 11 minutes. The Preds were playing on back-to-back nights on the West Coast. They will play again Thursday night at Las Vegas. Vanderbilt fell just short of a trip to New York. The Commodores fell at Xavier 75-73 last night, stopping Vandy from making a trip to Madison Square Garden for the NIT semifinals. Scottie Pippen Jr., 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in what may have been his final game for the Doors, who finished the season with a 19-17 overall record. CBI semifinals. Middle Tennessee defeated Abilene Christian 85-69 to advance to the tournament final. Donovan Sims, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. The Blue Raiders will face UNC Wilmington today at 4 p.m. in Daytona Beach for the championship. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your Over the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, making it possible, of course, as they do every single weekday. 11-year NFL veteran involved for life, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin. So, my Pittsburgh Steelers fan friends.
You come in here with this smirk on your face this morning.
Are you ready for the Baker Mayfield era in Pittsburgh?
No, because I had to hear LeVar Arrington talk about it for an hour.
Oh, my God. Shave. What? It's a season of lies. You said this. Jay, this is the
trying to
season
talk yourself
of lies. The season of lies. Nobody wants that. Baker doesn't want that. Cleveland doesn't want that. You don't want that. Season of lies. Remember, that's what we do here. We expose the season of lies. Old takes exposed. I'm going to add them on that. Who said that?
Mary Kay Cabot wrote it.
From Baker Mayfield's people trying to will it into existence.
He just want to play
Why
against
are you trying
the
to will
Browns.
into existence? Somebody picking him up after he gets dropped.
He just wants to play against the Browns. That's all that is, and go to a place where he can compete for
You see what Odell basically
job.
did to him yesterday?
What did Odell do yesterday? I saw what Odell said about the Colts.
Well, he said he'd be happy to go back to Cleveland now that Baker's not the quarterback because it's obvious he didn't like. So he's basically saying it was you.
Oh, was Baker that bad? Name me a quarterback in recent history this young that's had this many commercials. Like, the kid has been great to Cleveland. He's made Cleveland more relevant than any quarterback in their recent history. Pretty much in the last 15 years probably. And they just booted him. He had to be a terrible human being. Because the thing is, you can win, everything else is pretty much excused.
I don't know if it's as much him being a terrible human being as much as him being a child.
Why calling this man a child?
Because that's more
crazy.
likely accurate because of how he goes about things, how he's caught up on social media, and how he responds to every little thing people say and stuff like that. Like, that's more, I know you are, but what am I?
Well, they allow that.
I'm going to take a dump on your front porch.
If I told you he played for the Cleveland Browns, you'd be like, yeah, that's how they operate. Right? Like, come on, man. Now they want to act all crazy about it. So Baker's 92 touchdowns, 56 interceptions, 14,000 yards, completion rate of 61.6. Not bad for a young guy.
It's not.
Not bad for a young guy. What they want an adult is what they said, right?
It seems like the rest of the league does too, because there's almost nowhere for him to go now unless he were to go to Carolina, but I don't think they want him. And I don't know what Seattle's going to do, but he's a first pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And now you go back to that draft. I'm going to go back to that draft right now live.
I got to hit up my, as Ron Slay likes to call them, my reps. I got to do some digging on Baker to see how bad he really was in Cleveland.
So recall the 2018 NFL draft.
Yeah.
Where Baker Mayfield went number 1 overall. Let's just look at the first 3 picks in this draft. Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, if Saquon hadn't been hurt, maybe, but he has been, and so.
But the biggest issue with that was a lot of folks, analysts, experts, are now right on the right side of this by saying they wouldn't have picked a running back number 2 overall, too, right?
Yes, and I mean, I said you shouldn't have. Then, now number 4, the Browns also had that pick. They had 1 and 4. They took Denzel Ward, who's been pretty good. He's been all right.
Denzel Ward's been solid.
Bradley Chubb at 5.
Would you have
He's
taken
been
the
hurt,
DN?
but he's been very good.
Would you taken him number 1 overall though if you're Cleveland?
Who?
Bradley Chubb.
No, I'm getting to what you should have done. Number 6 was Q, who went to the Colts.
Big Quinn wasn't gonna take a guard. Cleveland
Number 7, and people. I remember Mina Kimes screaming on television that the Bills had lost their minds. Moved up at 7 and took Josh Allen.
Yeah, I remember.
And she'd be the first to tell you, yeah, I got that one wrong. Now, Josh Allen could have gone 1 to the Browns, right? And I think he would be in Baker's position if he had.
Yeah.
Even though I think Josh's attitude is much better, and he probably would have won a little bit, I still think situation determines outcome a lot more than people want to admit it in the NFL.
Yeah.
If Patrick Mahomes had gone to Cleveland, would that have changed everything? Not necessarily, because it depends on who the coach was, who the owner was, all that kind of stuff. Would Hugh Jackson still be the coach if Josh Allen was the quarterback? I don't know. I doubt it. Because if you're bad, you're bad.
If you're bad,
you eventually
you're bad.
get exposed.
Yeah.
And Josh Rosen went 10. And then, of course, famously at the end of the round, Lamar Jackson went 32 to Baltimore.
Yeah.
But you look at some other names that worked that year. It wasn't a great draft, honestly, when you look at it. Leighton Vander Esch has been pretty good. Jair Alexander's been pretty good. Derwin James has been hurt, but he's been good when he's been out there. Deron Payne's been okay. DJ Moore's been a decent, pretty good wide receiver. Calvin Ridley. Rashad Penny. Sony Michel.
Back?
Yeah.
God, dog.
So there have been some names here. But then you get to the second round. Nick Chubb. Darius Leonard, Cortland Sutton, Ronald Jones, Harold Landry, Mike Gesicki, Christian Kirk, who just got the bag. Like, there's Jesse Bates.
Yeah, who just got franchise
DJ
tag.
Chark.
Yep.
Who just said something else about Urban, probably.
I was thinking
I mean, he didn't. I was like, but he just said something else. Sam Hubbard.
Yeah.
Michael Gallup, who just got paid.
Yeah.
Like, second round's better than the first round.
That's what I was
me.
just thinking. Like,
That's why I kept reading. I'm like, wait a second.
Is there less pressure to pick in the second round or something, I guess? When it comes down to saying, or is there more pressure given to first rounders? I do think there's more pressure given to first rounders, especially nowadays. Like when I first came into the league, that was the start of what I felt like was rookies got to start now. And because of that, these guys may not get the opportunity to develop a little bit. And I do think that's a little bit unfair, but everybody wants to be a first rounder. If you ask them would they go back and change it, they probably tell you, no. Hell no, they wouldn't do it. And some of those second rounders that you name, I guarantee you A.J. Brown feel like he should be a first-round draft pick or should have been.
Sure.
But what's the difference in picking the first and the second, though? You know what I'm saying? Like, even let's look here a little bit with John Robinson. I know that's a little sketchy to say, but he does better with his second-round picks than he has done with his first, except for Big Jeff recently, right? Look at the guys that's on this team. Derrick Henry, friggin' AJ, Christian Fulton. Like, there's a bunch of guys that he's picked in the second or third round that's actually doing a little bit more for the team overall than what his first rounders have done. So it'd be an interesting conversation to have with him about the pressures of that. I might have to reach out to one of my sources, Jay, to ask that question. Why is there a bigger hit rate on second and third rounders than it is first?
Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com says the Steelers would, quote, pounce, unquote, on an opportunity to sign Baker Mayfield if he's cut by the Browns. Even though they have Mitch Trubisky and Mike Tomlin was at Malik Willis's workout
gushing
yesterday. But here's the problem. I heard Nate Tice say he's now a top 3 pick.
Malik?
Yeah.
Also,
he's not going to be anywhere near the Steelers pick.
I just saw a list in the season of lists that had that didn't even have him in the first round though.
I know. I don't. I think somebody's going to take a quarterback in the top 10, maybe 2, because I think Carolina likes Pickett more than they like Mayfield.
Carolina likes Pickett. Yeah, they said they had Pickett going to the Saints actually, which is very, very, very interesting to me.
Well, I mean, Saints don't get a pick before Carolina does, though.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying in general. But he slipped. Carolina ended up taking a tackle from this one mock that I saw. And this is what's so interesting about Baker. Baker's camp's got to be doing something. For as many people has come out and said something negative about him, and the fact that he's sitting in Texas right now, not even probably communicating with the Cleveland Browns, his team's doing some work for him. This right here, Baker Mayfield to the Bucks trade idea floated. Mm-hmm. Baker Mayfield to the Steelers. Yep. I saw that. Panthers reportedly make decision on Baker Mayfield. This is all 17 hours ago. And then here's another, a surprise team getting mentioned for Baker Mayfield. That's 4 different articles about Baker Mayfield going to a team that nobody wants. This one right here, New England.
I will say Mary Kay Cabot's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, and she can be wrong too.
I mean, she can be, but why wouldn't you potentially pick him up if he's released?
Because you already got 2 guys there on roster. If you get them for
so you're saying you don't buy it? You think it's a lie?
I don't buy it. I'm wrong. I'll absolutely not. I don't buy that. That's fluff to me. It's floating. Again, if she's more right than she is wrong, Jay, about stuff, I'm with it, but the fact that I know how media people work when it comes to players and saying, hey, can you put this out there? I'm not really running with that one so much.
Well, I don't know about running with it. It's just it was when I was flipping through this morning just to see what every sports station on Sirius was talking about, they were literally all talking about it.
Top 10 teams that can get Baker Mayfield, though. This is first thing first with Nick Wright. Giants, number 1, Steelers. Colts, Seahawks, Lions, Saints, Panthers, Dolphins, Commanders, and Patriots.
Lions don't care. Lions are not looking past Jared Goff for Baker Mayfield.
No.
A few of the other ones, sure. Those would make sense. The Colts, I don't know. The Colts could have had him if they wanted him. They didn't want him. They know Matt Ryan can win the division for him.
But the thing is this, though, man. Y'all know I say this time. I just said this. Whatever you do on this in the NFL, you better make sure you ball out because you're very bulletproof through a lot of things if your play on the field says that, look, man, screw that. That guy's a ball player. I mean, case in point, Odell Beckham is still getting sniffs right now, and he's got a torn ACL. You got Bobby Trees, man, that just got traded to the Titans. Why? Because he's a playmaker. By the way, heard Cooper Kupp's penned letter to him yesterday. Hey, Titans got a guy. Mm-hmm. They got a stud of a person, not just football player, but a person, a locker room guy. Mm-hmm. The way Cooper Kupp wrote him up, one of the most selfless, like team-centric players you could have ever gotten. And you got him for a 6.
Yeah, that's right. And you just, you hope everything's good off the injury and that he doesn't have any kind of bum luck after that.
Does the ACL bother you now that you've seen it throughout the years of how guys deal with it?
Injuries that take you out for that long always worry me just when you come back
just
from
to get back.
But I understand an ACL now is not an ACL 10 years ago also. It's not quite the same.
Yeah.
Mary Kay Cabot says, quote, I had somebody tell me today the Steelers will pounce on Baker Mayfield if he becomes available. Like if they cut him and he's just out there as a street free agent, they will take him in a minute, unquote. That was actually, and they've got the video of her saying this at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. So that's one little bit of a story that's going on. Zadarius Smith left the Packers and went to the Vikings.
Yeah.
So there's a thing. We'll keep talking about a lot of these things. There's still a lot of fluid movement going on and guys that are trying to find homes. Maybe the best free agent that was out there, he took a bag and went somewhere where I don't know if they can win or not, but he did it anyway.
Yeah.
615-737-1045 is the telephone number. 737-1045. Today on Ye Old Program, Ian Eagle. We'll talk tournament with him. Of course, he called Tennessee's game, but he's still calling games. Andy Staples will talk NIL with us, and we'll figure out what that quarterback means to the Vols program going forward. Rhett Bryan We'll jump in the fourth hour. Ink's going to be with us. It's
Need
a busy,
it.
busy show. 615-737-1045. JMart, Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Mortgage interest rates are starting to tick up, but the guys at Home Loan Expert are still locking their clients in at historic lows. So if you've been sitting on a fence to get a refi, or if you hadn't gotten your pre-approved home loan locked in, now is the time. You got to stop waiting for a lower rate because they won't stick around for much longer. Right now, the interest rates are still sitting kind of low, but we need to get you locked in today. By refinancing your 30-year mortgage, the Home Loan Expert can save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month with a simple refi. And here's the thing. Are you struggling a little bit with bills and debt? Your home is your biggest asset. And with the home equity so high right now, it's the perfect time to do a cash out refi. It can lower your monthly payments, give you cash to pay off debt, and honestly have you skip a few mortgage payments. So if you're looking to expand your home or make some much needed home improvements, then make the largest asset work for you with a cash out refi through the Home Loan Expert. The average homeowner last year got back $52,000 out of the refi. So if you've been sitting at home for months, people are looking at new homes. So homes are still selling fast. And getting pre-approved is key to finding your dream home. At thehomeloanexpert.com, they can lock in your interest rate, project your payments, and get you pre-qualified. So when you find that right home, you can submit that offer and close on your dream home. TheHomeLoanExpert.com are doing more home loans than ever and are closing purchases in less than 21 days. So don't wait. 21-day closing guarantee. Visit TheHomeLoanExpert.com.
JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. I was listening to Robert Mays, our guy, and Nate Tice talking about the Matt Ryan move. They really like it. And they were talking about literally the Atlanta Falcons had one of the worst offensive lines ever last year.
Yeah, it wasn't that
Just
good.
horrendous. So everybody that wants to look at Ryan's stats probably need to look at the fact that he was running for his life continuously.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a division with 2 excellent pass rushers and a pretty good defense in Carolina on top of it, but a really good pass rush in Tampa Bay. And obviously the Saints had a really good defense as well.
Yeah. You know what Titans say, though? Our defense is pretty good, too.
Well,
you know that's coming.
Of course it is. Well, that's not saying anything there, but his offensive line's better, even though they still don't have a left tackle.
Yeah.
But they'll probably just re-sign Eric Fisher.
Yeesh.
At some point.
Yeah.
They're just they are, and I heard it described this way. Chris Ballard's just waiting out the market. They're just letting guys' money drop and sitting around.
That's
it
what
was
happens.
described as he had the resting heart rate of a 95-year-old tortoise when it comes to making moves. Like in no hurry. They're looking at Will Fuller, just letting his money keep dropping before they bring him into Indy to be their speed guy. Stuff like that is out there. But what the Falcons are doing, I found really interesting. The Falcons probably going to get a top 5 pick next year in a draft with multiple quarterbacks that you would want. C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, guys like that. You get a top 5 pick there instead of reaching for one this year.
Mm-hmm.
You just get a bridge guy that's going to be great in the locker room despite how terrible you're going to be. You're going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and you know it going in because you have no weapons and you don't have any money. You created $8 million because you went from a $48 million cap hit to a $40 million dead cap hit, which is the biggest in NFL history, but you weren't winning, and you're going to give Matt Ryan a chance to go somewhere else and try to win at this point. You're trying to bottom out. You're not intentionally tanking. You've put yourself in a spot where you're tanking. And with Ridley going away, it makes it even easier. And Russell Gage getting sent to Tampa Bay, it makes it even easier.
Yeah.
So next year, how about this? They're only going to have 20 players under contract after this season.
Say what?
They're going to have $135 million to spend next year, plus a top 5 expected draft pick where they can potentially go get their quarterback. So, what's the way you do this now? Generally speaking, you get a rookie guy on a rookie contract and you spend a bunch of money around him and you try to do it intelligently, meaning not whatever the Jaguars just did. You make good, sound decisions. You bring in some veteran guys in key spots to lead, and you find a couple of guys that fit what you want to do from a system perspective. So if I told you, this year Falcons fans, it's going to really stink, but you saved yourself just a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You moved a guy that had been great to you his entire career on somewhere else.
And he seems very happy about this.
I think he ended up landing in a perfect spot. He's indoors. He's with a good coach who's been top 10 in offense right around there, regardless of the fact that he's had a different quarterback every year and had to retailor his offense to whoever that person is. You get yourself a top 5 quarterback, and you have over $130 million to spend next year alone. You all of a sudden put yourself in a spot where if you find the right quarterback, if Stroud or Bryce Young are the answer, you might have something in 2 years. You might have something in 3 years. That's the calculus. Like, they could have drafted somebody last year. The argument was this. Well, they could have drafted somebody last year, a quarterback last year. But then they knew their money situation and they knew things had not gone great for the organization in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew what you were going to be doing is by the time you had a chance to get good, it would be year 3 of that quarterback, which means you're already looking towards having to pay that guy again.
Yep.
You don't get to build around him. By the time you're doing that, you have to pay him. So they instead said, you know what? We're gonna continue on with Matt for one more year. We're going to figure out what we're going to do after that point in time, but we're looking at a plan a little bit further on down the road because we know we're not in a position to compete for a Super Bowl at present last year. So why go draft somebody who by the time he could be relevant to us, really relevant to us, we don't have anything we can put around him. It's an interesting way to look at
It
it.
is 100%. The question, as two things I was just thinking about in general. One, were the Colts suckers as far as taking this deal, or they had to go get a guy like him?
No, I don't think they were at all.
And the reason is almost as if they did a favor to Atlanta to get Matt Ryan, considering, there's other young quarterbacks. Again, Baker's a guy, unless they just really didn't like Baker. And I'm trying to figure out, what's the issues when it comes down to Baker? Why is he not liked in this point? I know it's not a matter of a person being liked, but he's younger than Matt Ryan. He, of course, is coming off the shoulder, but you would think he would be fine going into this year. He had an early surgery, said he was ready, and he's going to be ready to go to work. But the thing is, you get 2 years max out of Matt Ryan, when I feel like you could have possibly built a little bit more with Baker if you'd have taken him. Again, he may be the issue. He might not be attractive. Also, seeing what Odell has said about him, like that's when guys start not holding back the same way that they did with coaches as far as Urban Meyer goes. Like, that's a harsh reality, because one thing I've learned about guys in this league, whenever they start talking about you on a personal level and saying, hey, you are this and you are that, like, guys don't usually lie about stuff like that as far as saying Baker's toxic. That's basically what he is. But I'm still thinking to myself, that's a heavy cap to take when you're taking a guy like Matt Ryan. The other part of it for me with Atlanta, that's true. You go get a rookie quarterback that you hope that you can get in the draft because of your record and whatnot. But if you're putting those many guys around them, it's got to work. And the question is, how long do you have to take? How long do you have to make it work also? Considering all the new free agents, $130 million of cap, that's a lot of new players. With only 20, you said they'll have, after this year, only 20 guys on roster under contract?
Like yeah.
Even under, I don't know if I've ever heard anybody with less than 40.
They're going to keep almost nobody.
That's what I'm saying.
They're going to bring in a new team.
I've never heard anybody probably under 40 guys under contract, Jay. They're letting Arthur do his thing down there.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I imagine
Which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, though.
But the reason you bring in Marcus is because he's not going to cause you trouble.
No.
He's going to come in and be a good locker room guy, a veteran presence for a team that's not going to win, where it's not going to be that much fun to play there this year. Marcus is exactly the kind of guy to come in and do that. Now, if he's injured, he's still in your building. He is a bridge guy. He is not a long-term answer. He is there for a year. I don't even think he's there for 2 unless you grabbed a rookie. But if you grabbed him early, I don't imagine you're benching him for the year and putting him behind Marcus. I think it's just more.
What's his deal breakdown?
You grab him. You grab your quarterback next year with money, and you realize that next year is going to be the growth year. It's going to be where you learn, where some things don't work, some things do work, and then the year after is when you hope to do something. Like Burrow in year 2.
Yeah.
And then what has Cincinnati done this offseason? Lyle Collins. They've shored up the offensive line. They've made sure Jesse Bates stays in-house. They've done the kinds of things that you want to see a team do if you don't want to see them drop off a cliff when it comes to their production. They're doing the kinds of things that keep you in the mix. So that all makes sense. As to the Colts helping out, look, the Colts put themselves in that bed because they did a very un-Colts-like thing with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, they did.
That's not a Colts-like move, and I think they admitted it as such because they cut ties with it really fast.
Yeah.
They ended up losing a first-rounder because of that. But they did get a better third-rounder because Washington was dumb enough to take it. So they did the best they could. They got a little bit of a haul for Carson Wentz, got him out of the building, and then turned around, saved $5 million past what they would have paid Carson Wentz next year for Matt Ryan. If you see it that way, you save $5 million and you go from Matt Ryan, or you go from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan, and you get a better draft pick out of it. You can't go back and fix the mistake of bringing him in originally, but you did pretty well considering that. And this is 36. I believe Matt Ryan plays 2 years. And so I imagine they're still going to be looking potentially to put somebody behind him maybe next year because he's a perfect guy to learn from and be around and all of that kind of thing. But what he's going to be asked to do under center, turn around, hand it off to Jonathan Taylor, who likes that kind of offense, more of an I formation style, something like that. Matt Ryan, very comfortable under center, knows what he's doing there. And then we'll see what they do around him in terms of the other receivers, what they do in the draft. The draft is very deep with wide receivers. That much we already know going in. And then what they do at left tackle.
Yeah.
They're in position.
Dwayne Brown's still out there.
Yeah. They're in the mix. It's a two-man race, obviously, in the AFC South. We all know that. Depending on who you listen to and where, it's the Titans division or it's the Colts division. But you can find both are out there. I don't think people would have felt that way if it was Wentz coming back.
Yeah, no.
I just don't. So I think that they made themselves better in the best way that they could. And they put themselves in a spot with a, quote, adult in the room, unquote, for a couple of years, who there are similarities to be made to Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. He was a little bit younger, yes. But he had not had the success overall that Matt Ryan had at the time that he arrived.
This is true. So what you're saying is a guy like Matt Ryan, with what you trust that Ballard could do in Indy, he can make them a real good force in the AFC.
I don't think they're going to a Super Bowl necessarily with Matt Ryan,
but disruptors.
But I think they're getting to the playoffs with Matt Ryan.
I
think they get there, and then once you get there, you've got a shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, San Francisco had Jimmy G, and he came within an eyelash of going a second time to another Super Bowl. And I would say Matt Ryan's better than Jimmy G.
And let's be real. I mean, as far as the playoffs go, I'll just throw this out there. I truly didn't expect Cincinnati to get that far as the playoffs go with the offensive line that they had. But having a competent quarterback does a whole lot for you. I will acknowledge that. Again, Matt Ryan going to the Colts, hey, we expect that their head coach is pretty good offensively, right? He did pretty good with Phillip Rivers.
He's done good with everybody. Like
Carson Wentz wasn't bad.
They're around top 10 in efficiency. Offensive efficiency. Basically every year, Reich's been the coach, and he's been forced to deal with a new quarterback every year. He's had to tailor an offense differently around. He obviously has something that works, because regardless of who they've had back there, outside of Brissett, they've been right around top 10, no matter who they've had.
Man, that's actually pretty wild, right? That again, I still do think it's the Titans' division to lose as far as the AFC South goes. If what you're describing and what can happen in Indianapolis with their running back, you expect they're probably going to either get Dwayne Brown, Eric Fisher, or potentially somebody else at left tackle. You expect that to happen. They already got a pretty good inside trio when it comes down to their center guards. Receivers, Michael Pittman. You'd expect they're going to go get another wide receiver.
At least one. And they're going to draft one as well. There's no...
But they don't have a first round of this.
No, but they don't need one because it's how many wide receivers are in this draft. They can easily get one in the second or third round.
So in a game when we're coming down to a duel between Matt Ryan and Ryan Tannehill, if they got to duel it out, you more side with Matt Ryan than you would Tannehill all day long.
Yes. And I'm not saying that I don't think Tannehill could win that matchup. I'm saying if I had to lay money on that, I would lay it with Matt Ryan, not Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. Okay. That's going to be very interesting. And that's going to bring a whole lot of issues here to Tennessee if that is the case. Because, again, this window is wide open, and all you want is to be able to get into the playoffs. And if, again, I do believe this. I think only one team will probably make it out of the South.
Probably. Although we said that last year, and the Colts had the opportunity if they beat Jacksonville to make it two, and they couldn't beat Jacksonville.
But at the end of the day, they didn't, though. And you would look at the teams around and say there are a whole lot other stronger teams on the AFC side than what I would even say the Colts got to offer. So I'm honestly picking the Titans, but with what Frank Reich can do with Matt Ryan and the offense, and truth be told, Jonathan Taylor at this point is a huge X factor in all of those things. The Titans do have their hands full. I'm yet to see. I'm really not overly sold on Matt Ryan simply because I don't know what his receivers and tight ends are going to look like at the end of the day. I don't know if they can be trusted just yet. Again, to your point, they have an adult now behind center when it comes to a guy like Matt Ryan, and he's helped develop guys. He's made guys into stars. Heck, he threw to Julio for a long time. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And truth be told, too, it depends on where this falls in the scheduling. Because I feel like if the Titans had to play the Colts last year towards the latter part of the season, especially without Derrick Henry as of late, I think they could have led to a different outcome in some of those games because they did get hot. He does have to grow some cohesion with his guys up there in Indianapolis. And on the other part of it, too, Ryan Tannehill has to. Robert Woods, Bobby Trees got to get going this year, too. If for me, in order to win this division this year, you're going to have to rely on Ryan Tannehill more than I think this team ever has in the years past. And I know it's Derrick Henry's team. And we're probably not ready to have that conversation just yet. But in order to win the AFC South this year, I think Ryan Tannehill has to be the guy that's going to probably be close to 300 yards per game. Well, and I won't say 300 yards per game because Derrick will get off, but he's going to have some stats this year other than 112 yards a game.
Good luck with that. That's just not what he's built to do.
He's got to, Jay. This league is changing. I think it was you that made that point about 2 days ago. You said this defense here is awesome. We talked about how awesome this defense is and how they've bought into it too. Harold Landry, like I said, I think the fan base overlooked it a little bit, but stopping the team is one thing. Can you score with the rest of the league too?
Oh yeah,
and that's where I'm with you on saying Ryan's got to do a little bit more this year.
The league is,
and I've been asking for that.
The league is a track meet. The AFC is a track meet. These quarterbacks are cheat codes. You don't have a cheat code at quarterback. You got 3 lives. Now, that just means you got to dodge bullets a few more times.
Yeah.
It means to get to the end of Contra, you give me 30 lives, I'm going to beat it every single time. Take me to Alien Lair, it's a wrap. You give me 3 lives, if I get to Waterfall, I feel good. That's the 3rd level of 8 in old school Contra.
Yeah.
That's why that code existed.
Yeah.
Schlubs like me who were average at video games.
What was the code? You remember?
Up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Also worked on Life Force and 2 or 3 other Konami games.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of games, are PlayStation's available now too?
I haven't seen them. I mean, I still got mine, and I'm happy that I landed that thing. And more so by the day because they're still hard to get. But finding myself playing my Switch more often these days. 615-737-1045. 737-1045. Zion video, him dunking.
Yeah,
feel free to get back on the court. I don't really care about your dunks
first
and empty
thing Ron
gyms.
said.
I just saw that like, oh, man, it ain't going well, is it? Because you're putting out a hype reel for yourself like you're Cam Newton in the offseason before he got signed in New England.
Man, I ain't going to let you dog him like that, man. I'm actually glad to see that.
I'm not saying I'm not glad to see it. I'm just saying that ain't him on the floor. It's not him with the Pelicans.
But he did something that nobody's expecting him to do. Everybody said he was out of shape, and he's showing you, I got it. We'll pick this back
Still
up.
out of shape.
He was doing something we all expect him to do, not play.
Yeah.
See, y'all,
He's
doing
an awesome job of eating popcorn in the seats. 615-737-1045. JMart, Ramon, 1045 The Zone. What makes Genesis Diamonds stand out? I could talk to you about the actual jewelry itself and the care that goes into it, the designers that you want. I could talk to you about the price. I could talk to you about the guarantees. I could talk to you about everything. And I can and have. But what if I just wanted to tell you that if you don't know anything about diamonds, they're going to make sure you know something, even if you don't leave with anything. They're non-commissioned, so they're not there just to sell you. They actually want to help you. They'd like to have your business for the next 20 years instead of one bad purchase right now where you walk out and they snicker behind your back. They show you the inside secrets of the diamond industry. It's transparent. It's informative. It's useful. It's no pressure. I didn't know anything. I learned just enough to be dangerous and buy the right ring for Abby a few years ago. They know people like me, and I think I'm pretty similar to a lot of you guys out there, don't know much about this stuff, so they're committed to teaching you. And then they're going to give you access to one of the largest selections of GIA-certified diamonds in America. And then they're going to guarantee you the best, lowest price, not just here, but anywhere in America. And then they're going to show off the designers, Henry Dawsey, or any of these, Tacori, Viraggio, all the things that you actually want. And now, Genesis with the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in Tennessee, hundreds of amazing luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces, all of this is why I just don't go anywhere else, and why I don't want you to either. Genesis Diamonds, voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring so many times we have lost count. It's Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. So one of the reasons why Baker Mayfield doesn't have a home is because the Browns still want too much for him. They still want a first rounder for him. So they're going to keep on waiting that out. And if you're a team out there that might have some interest in him, why would you give that up? If he's going to get released in 3 weeks, because they killed his value last week with that leak to Mortensen.
Yeah.
They've played this terribly.
They made a great move for a football player.
Yeah, we don't know about, and they gave up a lot.
But he told them they were out until they basically
until they literally just brought up 3 Brinks trucks to his house and said, "All this is yours. It's all guaranteed. Please come here."
Play with us.
That's exactly what it is.
Please, sir, Mr. Deshaun. Again, God, I hate this in Cleveland, but boy, they make it easy, man.
They do.
They made this super easy. Like, they got a really good, what we think, young football player. But they dogged it so much, and the leaks apparently were very accurate. And on top of that, Schefter and everybody else put out the transaction of what really the trade was, and there's an added 4th-round pick.
Yeah, they gave up more, actually. That's right. There's a few things I don't believe.
Idiots.
There's a few things I don't believe. I am skeptical of the Steelers Mayfield thing, but I absolutely don't believe the source that claims that the San Francisco 49ers, there's a team that's offered them 2 second-round picks for Jimmy G.
You don't believe that one?
You know why?
Why?
Because he's still with the 49ers. What if there's one team that's offering you that, nobody's offering you anything, why is he still there?
I mean,
you take that and run with it. Nobody's giving you a first rounder for Jimmy G.
No. 2 twos for Jimmy G? Heck, if
2 twos is legit, you take that right now.
I believe that more than almost anything right now, for sure. And it might break down to a 2 and a 4, but 2 twos being on the table, they got to take it like ASAP.
That's what I'm saying.
Yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. I don't believe it's on the table. I believe that's been put out there.
100%.
Because you would take that.
Yeah, I'd take 2 twos all
in
day.
a hot minute.
Yeah, that's legit right there. I'll take that.
Cuzzo Bam. What's going on, Bam?
Bam, fam.
Hey, how y'all feeling, man? Everybody all right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Man, we're good. The rain's past us.
Yeah, I know, man. This whole Titans Colts situation, or just the AFC South, is almost kind of like, again, like I told y'all last time I talked to y'all, I just don't know how to feel, man. Like, it's even, okay, we got Robert Woods, we still ain't got no right tackle. Like, it's just kind of like, I hope Robert Woods is already here in Austin. And Hooper, they're already here and they're already working out with Tannehill. That's my only hope, is that they build an immediate chemistry, and that I just don't know. Our offense just isn't jumping out to me like our defense, and it's like I'm nervous about this year, man. Like I don't know. And then sometimes JMart, you just make it that much more worse, man. I love you, man, but great day. It's just like Dr. Jekyll, Mrs. Hyde. I don't know who to, but I'm gonna still be in the stadium this year. But man, what can Ryan do? Ramon? Can you take him to Florida with you? Can we get this boy some help to kind of?
But Bam, remember
any development though?
We talked about this a good bit of last year though when we spoke about Ryan Tannehill. Like, you got an actual passer in this division now. Davis Mills, all right, the young guy in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, he's got a little ways to go as far as we think now.
This should be a growth year.
It should be a big growth year.
Yeah.
And what I've always said is, man, Ryan's got to toss that ball around the field. I know y'all love Derek. Hell, I loved Le'Veon. I love James Conner. But at the end of the day, when it came time to win games, it came on the shoulders of a quarterback, man. I'm sorry to say, but
okay. So the question is, can Ryan do it? That's the question. Does he have that arm, or how can we help this boy? Can we go get like somebody to teach this? But I don't like.
Bam. I don't want to make it worse. I don't.
Yeah, he does.
I know I bring a dose of realism here and there, but like when we saw each other at that playoff game,
absolutely,
I saw the look on your face.
What was
the
the
look
look
on your face was, I don't know about this guy. That's what it felt like.
Are you
to
still
me.
there right now, Bam?
Man, I don't know where I am, bro. I'm in a place between there and like I want to have faith in him, but when I saw JMart, yeah, that look was just like, bro, I promise you, oh my God, like what? Now we got to deal with 17 more, and the AFC is like is like Megazord now. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
The AFC is so stacked to where it's like they got all the quarterbacks. I've seen a lot of stuff on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. They put all the quarterbacks in the AFC in there, and Ryan Tannehill ain't even nowhere near in there. And it's just like, oh my God, bro, what are you? And how is this gonna play on his mental this year? How is this gonna be like? You know what I'm saying? Like he knows what he has to challenge. Like, so is he gonna digress even more? Or are we going to see a 360? I mean, I don't know. Oh, my God. I'm getting stressed talking about it.
Bam. It's all right. We're going to put you on hold just in case you still need to listen.
Talk through it, Bam.
So Bam's like live action therapy that we just took there for a few minutes.
Talk through it.
When we come back out of the top of the hour headlines, we kind of know what the AFC looks like from a quarterback standpoint. Okay?
Yeah, we do.
Two things. One, I think an exercise that might be fun. Because I saw Selly put this in the chat, and I don't think he meant it this way, but this is the way I'm going to take it.
Uh-oh.
The AFC is now Death Row Records. So which artist is each quarterback in the hierarchy?
We can name them all across no matter. So is
So
Patrick Mahomes Suge Knight?
Well, we're going to do it. We're going to do that. But now that you kind of know where the AFC is in terms of the quarterback spot. Now, Baker may land somewhere, but I don't think that's going to affect much at this point in your mind. Where do you put your quarterback? And do you feel like he can do it? To Bam's query, trying to figure it out for himself. Do you think he's capable of doing this in this AFC? 615-737-1045. Second hour next. JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone. Hey, are you tired of not being allowed to paint your living room, or you can't have pets, or you wish just once you could get something repaired or upgraded yourself instead of having to submit some kind of request that takes months to answer, and sometimes you're just going to be told flat out no? I rented for a long time. It gets old. Instead of sending your monthly payment to a landlord's pocketbook, what if you were actually putting them to work for you in your dream home? Buying a home, usually the biggest decision, especially financial, anybody's going to make in their life. So to think that could be overwhelming and stressful and not know where to start, yeah, absolutely. But you're not alone. Talking with a mortgage expert can help you get on the right track, understand that process, and make a plan that utilizes your best options. As the Southeast's leading mortgage lender, Mortgage Investors Group here to help you not just get any home loan, but the right home loan. Their team of mortgage experts cares. They're committed to helping you close on time, which is the biggest thing, structure things right, and realize those dreams. So let MIG work for you. Let Mortgage Investors Group do it. Go to migonline.com. It's time to say no more to the rental world. migonline.com. Get the advice you need to get you started, get pre-qualified, find out where the office nearest to you is. Again, that's migonline.com, or text MIG to 31399. That's MIG to 31399 to get pre-qualified. Mortgage Investors Group, the right home loan, equal housing lender, license number 109111.
7:03. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The LA Kings defeated the Nashville Predators 6-1 last night in LA. Kings jumped out to a 3-0 first period lead with all three goals being scored within the first 11 minutes. Preds were playing on back-to-back nights on the West Coast. They'll play again Thursday night at Las Vegas. Vanderbilt fell just short of a trip to New York. The Commodores fell at Xavier 75-73 in the NIT quarterfinals. That stopped Vandy from making a trip to Madison Square Garden for the NIT semis. Scottie Pippen Jr., 28 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists in what may have been his final game for the Doors, who finished the season with an overall record of 19-17. CBI semifinals. Middle Tennessee defeated Abilene Christian 85-69 to advance to the tournament final. Donovan Simmons, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Blue Raiders will face UNC Wilmington today at 4 o'clock from Daytona Beach for the championship. And to the NBA, Nets at Grizzlies tonight, 6:30 tip for that. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your Over the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Welcome in, JMart and Ramon. 104.5 The Zone, all Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville, lifting us up here this morning. 11-year NFL veteran involved for life, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin, at Ramon Foster, at Schaefer on Sports, at JMart Radio, at JMart and Ramon. So we're going to look at the AFC quarterbacks now. Now that we kind of have a sense of what they're going to look like. Because somebody in the chat mentioned that the AFC is death row. And I was like, what if it was death row records?
Yeah, I think that's what he meant, too. Death row records out here, man.
I don't know that he meant that. And I think he might have meant murderer's row.
Well, either way, somebody going to die.
Let's go to Coach. We'll go to Coach B's call first because I think he wants to talk about the quarterbacks. And then we'll jump out from there and have some fun with this. Coach B, what's up?
Good morning, fellas. Good morning. Good morning. So look here. That's what. Okay, first of all, man, look here. I done told y'all a couple weeks ago, Tannehill gonna jack it off. So it ain't no point to even getting your expectations up. He gonna do good during the regular season, but I promise you, he gonna jack it off. So if you don't go into the season with expectations that he's gonna have astronomical numbers, when he disappoints you, you won't be too disappointed. There it is. As far as the death row reference, man, look here. You got Mahomes is Suge, Burrow was Pop, Allen is Snoop, Herbert is corrupt, and Russell Wilson is Baz. Man, you still got Carr and even Matt Ryan before you really got Tannehill. So I figure Tannehill going to be like one of the backup dancers in Snoop video back there, crip walking and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You know, throwing up the west side, man. He ain't nowhere close, man. Nowhere. So I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, he might not even be a backup dancer. He might be the dude driving Suge around or something like that, man. He boo-boo, man. It's just it is what it is. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, and I apologize.
Coach B.
No.
You hell, man. Come on, Coach B.
All right. Do we start with Suge?
We got to start with Suge. Have to start with Suge.
I guess so. So Suge Knight in the AFC, looking at the quarterbacks. It's got to be somebody that's been around a little bit, that's kind of orchestrated everything. And what happened in the AFC is that everybody started trying to build their artillery, build their army to go after one guy, to knock him off. So the guy that's trying to be knocked off is Suge. It's Mahomes.
It's got to be Mahomes.
Because just like everybody started trying to beat Golden State by loading up on guys to where they could shoot along with Steph and with Clay and all that, everybody was trying to beat the Chiefs. They were building their team to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And Mahomes has been to, multiple Super Bowls. MVP's been on the cover of Madden twice.
Yeah.
All up in the video.
All up in the video. Changing the way high school quarterbacks play, changing the way college quarterbacks play. Everybody's trying to find the death row. So, I'm okay with making Patrick Mahomes Suge at this point right now.
I think you kind of have to.
Since Brady's gone.
Sure.
Since Brady's gone from the AFC.
Sure.
Okay.
So then I would probably go from there to Dr. Dre.
Who's Dre?
Dre is setting up the beats. He's bringing everybody together.
I got a guy already.
I mean, it would be Tom if we were including the NFC, but we're not. We're looking at the AFC. So who do you have?
I got Russ.
Okay.
Russ is Dre to me. Don't really say too much. Good at what he does. Smart. Got an eye for stuff, ear for stuff. Nobody does it the way he does beats. And that's the way Russell Wilson plays.
Dre is my guy, and Russ is my quarterback.
If you're asking me, it's gotta be Russ.
Yeah.
Let me write these down.
Okay. Yeah. Suge is Patrick Mahomes.
Pat.
And we can say Dre is Russ. I would have potentially, because he's brought a lot of talent around him, I would have thought maybe Josh Allen, because Stephon Diggs comes and Von Miller comes and all these. And that's your Snoop and your other guys being brought in underneath the banner. But I like your thought. So we'll go with that. So I guess we go from those two to Tupac.
Pac.
And I think that right there.
Who's Pac? God,
that might be Josh Allen.
That might be Josh Allen. Or
it's either him or Herbert, right? Because they came on later. They're newer to things. Or Joe Burrow too.
Or nah, Lamar.
I think Lamar is more Snoop to me.
Lamar is more Snoop to you?
Yeah.
So he's gonna have the longest trend-setting career.
I just think Snoop was totally different than everybody
on
else.
death row.
And still is. Changed the name to Snoop Lion, doing all these different things. Nobody liked Lamar.
Okay. So who's next on this list? You said Pac.
Yeah.
Pac gotta be Joe.
How would you
Burrow.
define Pac?
Pac, wow, eccentric, does everything his own way, puts on for everybody, man. A deep thinker, a winner when it comes down to it. What he's doing is bigger than his purpose. That's Pac. That's what he did for Cincinnati
so
already.
It's either Allen or Burrow, but I like Burrow.
It's Burrow. Burrow's Pac. See what the chat's saying as far as who's who.
Well, I just saw Tannehill would be the blunt roller. So that was mentioned.
Bow Wow was signed to death row too.
Yeah.
Is that Tannehill?
Maybe that's right. I don't know. Maybe that's Baker. Even the dog pound doesn't want him.
Come on, Gator hater, man. Joe Burrow's Pac.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you because of the way you described it.
Yeah.
But the other thing about Pac is this. Pac was always in the argument of he's the best in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Allen's in that argument.
He is, but
he could be that guy.
But Josh Allen could also
be around a little longer.
He could be
Burrow.
Corrupt though too.
No, he's got to be better than Corrupt.
No, Corrupt is legit. He's a big time producer.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, yeah, he's a producer
and big time writer.
Josh Allen's a front man,
but he's a big time writer behind all that too.
I don't know if Josh Allen's written anything in his life.
Josh Allen definitely hasn't. So who's next up on this list? Suge, Dre, Pac, Snoop. Who's Snoop? This one's on you.
Snoop defined as
Death Row Snoop,
unique,
by the way.
Unique, mixture of funk.
That's Josh Allen.
I mean, if you're going just pure on talent, Dr. Dre showcased Snoop and made Snoop a bigger star in terms of what he was doing lyrically, and he became more the cultural touchstone, as you mentioned. Dre just kind of sat in the background and then signed the big deal with Beats and Apple, which is Russell Wilson trying to be in a billionaire's Rolodex and all the other kind of stuff that he's doing. So who was the star in the AFC? That's who Snoop is, which is why I immediately thought of Lamar, but it's either him or Josh.
Lamar, Josh. Is Lamar Snoop?
That's what I thought.
So we're without Herbert.
We're without Herbert and Allen right now.
At this point.
and certainly without Tannehill and without Matt Ryan, who was also in this mix. Also without Derek Carr.
I got the list of Death Row artists, by the way, too.
Okay.
It's full of former artists, and I got current artists also.
Okay.
So on this Daz, it's not mentioned Corrupt, the Dog Pound, the DOC, Nate Dogg and Warren G, Bone Thugs and Harmony, DJ Quick, who's an assassin, man, Eastsiders, Outlaws, Lady Rage, and Bow Wow.
That's an interesting point. Is Josh Allen a bigger star than Lamar Jackson?
Josh Allen, the big star.
pretty close.
Lamar had a low year last year,
It's pretty
injuries and
close.
whatnot. They're tit for tat.
I mean, Josh Allen might be the best quarterback in the league.
So
He might be.
who's Snoop now? Lamar came on the scene hard. He came on the scene crazy.
He did. He came on hard. That's true. So
Pause.
that's why I immediately thought it was him, because
It's got to
more
be Lamar.
unique.
We can double up on who's who then if that's what we're gonna do.
All right. Well,
We do Nate Dogg and
cut it
Warren
there,
G
we'll-
also.
We'll do the next part when we come back.
I'll put Lamar.
We have
down.
not gotten to Tannehill yet,
Well,
but he's somewhere. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. Now that we actually know, we haven't talked about Deshaun yet either.
no. Well, he's the Outlaws.
Which one had more legal issues?
Pac.
Right. Iron Eagle at
Snoop.
8 and Andy Staples at 8:20, just to let you know what's coming up in the next hour of the show. We'll come back. We'll continue along this line. Either way you look at it, it's an all-star crew in the AFC at quarterback. How do you feel about your guy? 615-737-1045, JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone. One thing you can predict about the weather in our region is it can certainly be very unpredictable. Have you considered what would happen if your home had no power right now? I can consider it because my home lost power last night. Woke up this morning, all the clocks were blinking at me. Now, it happened in the middle of the night, so it might not have been as effective as usual. But I'm here to tell you, home generator can make a huge difference. If that power goes out, a generator will keep your air conditioning system running, your lights on, your appliances working. It's going to keep your devices charged and actually usable as well. Being able to use your phone and computer a lot of times is a non-negotiable for people these days. So you want your life to continue moving without a beat. Without power, that can become real tough, real fast. So see that generator not just as keeping your life moving in the way that you're used to, but also just an insurance policy against the unknown. So visit leecompany.com today. Look into it. If you've never thought about a generator, or if you have, now's a good time to pick one up. You know how it gets kind of in the summertime with some of the severe weather that comes in and the drastic temperature shifts and all those things. All those can lead to power outages. I mean, we've seen this, unfortunately, over the past few years more and more. So consider a generator. Consider that insurance policy a backup plan. LeeCompany.com or call 615-567-1000. That's 615-567-1000. Lee Company. All you need. Hey, last night, obviously, there was a lot of rain. And if you woke up today and your basement has extra water, your crawl space has extra water, you're concerned about that. You should be, because 2/3 of the air you breathe in your home's coming from that. Not to mention just what it can do to devalue your house. So you need somebody you can trust to come out and tell you what's actually going on, how simple the fix is or how complicated in some cases, but just somebody that's going to give it to you straight. That's United Structural Systems. They've been here for over a quarter of a century in Middle Tennessee, 22,000 plus satisfied residential customers. They are the go-to company when it comes to foundation repair and waterproofing. That wet basement, that crawl space, you got to just nip it in the bud. You can't put up with it. That intrusion from water, that moisture, can give you all sorts of problems down the road. You want to get it fixed. It might be poor drainage. Maybe it's a plumbing leak. There's a lot of different things that could be causing this. But I can tell you what the solution for it is. United Structural Systems. They can fix it, but they're going to tell you what's actually going on. And sometimes it's a simple, very cheap fix. And that's what you want to hear. You want somebody that's willing to tell you, yeah, this is not going to be that big a financial burden to you. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And if you know going in that they're going to be straight with you, then it's a lot easier to let them do the work, regardless of how complicated the job turns out to be. These guys are going to give you a plan after they diagnose your problem. You're going to be there with them every step of the way, and then they're going to finish the job before you ever have to release a dime of your money to them. You don't pay a cent until that work's done, and they know you're satisfied. So it's really easy. Call for the free estimate. Find out how much it's going to cost to fix from the people I trust. The telephone number is 615-227-2275. That's 615-227-2275 or online at ussTN.com. United Structural Systems. So we're comparing AFC quarterbacks and trying to place them in death row records. And there was really one reason why I thought to do this, outside of somebody mentioned the AFC was death row. And that was, we hadn't even discussed Tannehill. There are guys that are household names, right? Dre, Snoop,
Yeah.
Suge, Tupac. And then there's guys, as you started naming the roster, where most of our audience never heard of those people, don't know those people.
Yeah.
Those are like the vast majority of football fans that don't necessarily know all 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. You get to a spot where you're not really sure who the quarterback of that team is, or you don't know much about him. There's probably still a lot of people who don't know who Justin Herbert is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They know who Burrow is because Burrow just made a Super Bowl and they made a playoff run. You look at, maybe you know who Tannehill is, but probably not. He's not one of the household names in the AFC in a quarterback conference now. Maybe the greatest quarterback conference we've ever seen.
So far, yeah.
And so where does that put you as a Titans fan? It puts you in the same, and this is what Bam was trying to get to on his call at the end of the first hour. He was saying he didn't know how to feel. Well, here's how I know. Here's how you got to feel, Bam. It's real simple. You've got to hope that this time he can do it. You've got to hope that this time is going to be different. You've got to hope that whatever faith that you have had in Ryan Tannehill in the past was not misplaced, and this time's going to be different. That's it. And is it possible that that's the case? Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. He may have an opportunity to prove all the naysayers wrong. But, and I mentioned this the Super Bowl year with the Chiefs and the Niners. When I was asked to pick the game, I said, I'm taking the Chiefs because Patrick Mahomes creates a larger margin for error. That's how I described it. He can overcome a lot of other things. Whereas for Jimmy G, it's got to be much closer to perfect around him for him to win. Yeah. Because he's not Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. That's what you've got with Ryan Tannehill. You're closer to Jimmy G than Patrick Mahomes. You're closer to a featured artist on a track than you are the guy that's on the front of the album.
You're not Drake. Well, okay. This is interesting to me, like talking about Ryan Tannehill. Because when Ryan came in, Ryan became the savior for this organization. Like, God, he hit the ground running and didn't look back. Finished off 19, AFC Championship. Started off 20. What was it? A top 5 offense at the least, like at the lowest, a top 10 offense. And 2021 comes around not so great. Well, there's a lot of different subtractions and additions to this team. Just had to figure stuff out. And it seemed like it's been a steady decline ever since he came in, except for the 2020 season, as far as stats and the amount of just numbers they did. And I'll ask this question to you, and Jay and Shafe, y'all probably have an answer better than me. But I'm listening to Buck show yesterday on the drive out to Franklin. Shout out to Buck. And he played, of course, he was talking about Marcus Mariota and him going to Atlanta. And, you know, it was people, you know, talking. We've talked about Atlanta being everybody's second team also because of Marcus.
Team. Yeah,
and
Arthur Smith.
Yeah, and Arthur Smith. You got you twofer down there, okay? Two people that you know and loved, at least as human beings go. So with that being said, he played a clip of Marcus Mariota doing an interview in which Marcus Mariota basically was saying, like, man, I didn't like who I was becoming in Tennessee. He's like, I didn't know the guy that it was basically in some context that, like, he basically lost himself while being the starting quarterback here in Tennessee. He was looking back on it and said, I didn't know who I was. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is that much pressure on being the quarterback here? Because, okay, now let's talk about a little bit of history here as far as the quarterbacks in this city goes. As far as I can remember, like, I saw a little bit of Steve, not a whole lot of Steve. Steve was very good here. Respect to Steve, may he rest in peace, all those things. Love who he was as a person, as a player. But you got Vince, who crashed out.
Jake Locker
crashed out. Who was behind him? From LSU,
they just had
Mettenberger.
Mettenberger. Yeah.
Crashed out.
Yeah.
Okay. Marcus comes in, crashes out, and I'm sure there's somewhere I'm missing in between that. Marcus Mariota comes in and crashed out, so much so that he does an interview and said, I didn't like who I was becoming as a person.
Now, he did. Now, I will say this to Marcus's credit. Had Marcus never had that injury at the end of that season that took him out, the same day Derek Carr went out. Both of them went out the same day. I think it was Christmas Eve.
With the Raiders?
Year, yes.
Okay.
They both went down with season-ending stuff right before potential playoff games, potential playoff runs, all of that kind of thing. Marcus was, without question, Never the same player after that point.
But I don't even
just to say I'm saying I don't think that was a crap out draft pick when it was made.
No, but to hear him say what he said on that interview I heard on Buck's show, he was actually saying he didn't like the person he was becoming, not the player. He was speaking of like the person he was becoming.
Well, I think that was because of the adversity, though, right? What do you think?
Maybe it was a little bit of that, but then you got to ask yourself this. For all the conversation we have about Tennessee being a small market, Tennessee being a mid-market team, and you got to think, if you're a small market, mid-market team, there's not a whole lot of pressure on as far as doing the job. But I've named off almost every quarterback this organization has had as of in recent history. Josh Rosen, was he a Titan? No, wasn't a Titan. Okay. Who's the other? Jake Locker. Mm-hmm. Another guy crashes out so much so he's out of the league within like 4 years.
Locker, who just flat out didn't love football.
Either way.
And admitted it after the fact.
But he came through here is what I'm saying. And now we got Ryan Tannehill, who's sitting behind center. And it's almost like he's on the edge of crashing out, or he's on the edge of doing something great. And I feel like it's more crashing out, or the expectations of what he can actually do is nosediving at a pace that's so fast that most of this I ain't gonna say most of this fan, some of this fan base can't wait for the 2022 season to be over with so they can figure out what's next.
So with all that said, what's the point?
What's the point is there a lot of pressure here in Nashville to actually do something good? Like, why isn't there a quarterback that comes in and does something good and sustain it? Considering you got I saw Cousin Paxton last night tweet this out, the coach of the year in Mike Vrabel. You got one of the best GMs you've had in a long time with John Robinson. Amy Adams-Strunk has put stability in this organization so much so they're talking about building a $2 billion stadium. But you can't find a quarterback to consistently win for you here. And it's been a trend of one guy after the next for a team that's considered a small market.
Well, the thing is,
so I'm like, why is there too much pressure here in Nashville?
Well, first off, a lot of the guys that we have talked about weren't good.
But Ryan Tannehill was good.
And
Marcus Mariota, picked him top 5.
You said crashed
and
out.
Was good.
I don't think he crashes out, even if it doesn't work here,
because
he's already had success. But he's already had success. But here's all you need to know about Tannehill and how he's viewed.
What?
Mike Vrabel's coach of the year. You just talked about it, right?
Yeah.
He's coach of the year because nobody believes in his quarterback. The reason Matt LaFleur is not coach of the year at 13-3, 13-3, 13-3 is because Aaron Rodgers gets all the credit. Tannehill gets no credit at all here. Vrabel reaps the benefits because they're like, well, he must be a great coach because Ryan Tannehill is his quarterback. So what does that say?
I guess I'm asking two things. One, is there a whole lot of pressure on being a quarterback for the Tennessee Titans?
Not more than other places.
Well, if that's not the case, then what environment are they being put into where you have a guy like Marcus Mariota who comes in as a very happy guy, seems like Hawaiian, Polynesian descent, is very let's go type of guy. And the same thing from a guy like Ryan Tannehill, who's coming from a Miami to a second chance and put this team in the AFC Championship. And soon as he becomes a starter, there's a nosedive.
Well,
there's a real trend with that, Jay.
You got to think of nuance.
There's a trend.
All right, so think about this. Marcus had success everywhere, won a Heisman Trophy, almost won a national championship, had never seen adversity, had never seen real failure. Tua Tagovailoa, another guy from around the same region, who went to Miami, hadn't seen a lot of negativity. He had to deal with an injury. He had to deal with injuries at Alabama. But he came in the league, and you heard he's a good dude too. Marcus Mariota was a great guy. He came here. He expected to succeed. He was confident in himself. It didn't work. He got injured. Then he wasn't sure of himself after that. Then he had an offensive line that got him killed the next year. They weren't able to succeed. And look, from short to intermediate passing, he was never accurate. He was much more accurate down the field than he was 5 yards off the ball. He couldn't throw outside the hash marks. That's why you wanted to bring in Ryan Tannehill. That's what most people had thought at that point in time. It's like, can he just throw an out route? Accurate to that point. Marcus Mariota went from everybody loved him. He's on every billboard in town. He's the future. He's the best quarterback since Steve McNair, to he's losing his job. A.J. Brown's crying in Denver in the locker room saying, I let you down because of how much they liked Marcus Mariota, the person. Marcus had a darkness inside him, I think, that came from he had never run into trouble before. He'd never run into having to overcome something before. If all you're used to is mountaintop moments, and then all of a sudden you can't even start the climb, you're just stuck in the valley, that's when your faith gets tested. That's when you find out how tough you actually are. That's how you find out who you really are. And I think that's more it. He ran into his first real challenge here in Nashville. And I think that's more, at least that's how I read him saying he didn't like the person he was becoming. He probably got very negative. He probably got very pessimistic because it was harder for him to believe in himself because every time he tried to, he would end up on the sidelines hurt. Everything he tried to do, it just didn't work. And that's not how it was supposed to go in his head. We've seen that happen with a lot of athletes.
This is very, very true. And I'm with you. But again, to me, it seems that there's just been a history of guys like either not having backing, support, or again, Vince is probably in that conversation, never having a bad day, and then he gets to the NFL and does the same thing. Matt Hasselbeck, though, what was his record here as a starter? Do you happen to remember? Was it fair? It was 2011 season, probably wasn't that great because they got Jake Locker as a top 10 pick the next year. Jake Locker, another guy that I'm just like, I'm going to use the term crashed out, like legitimately.
Well, he did. Like I said, I mean, he had he was not a football lifer. No
Charlie Whitehurst. Like, I'm looking at this list, and I'm just like, once they become starters, nobody has lasted more than 4 seasons.
Well, I mean, that's just.
And we're talking about top 10 picks.
You got the wrong guys. You got guys that can't be starters in this league, Mon. They're not all Ben Roethlisberger.
I'm not even comparing them to. I'm just looking at the trend of how this is all unfolding. Like, every guy that becomes a starter seems like they have 1-2 years of just, woo, let's go. And I'm not saying that the support's not there, but the trend in which we're talking about Ryan Tannehill seems like the same trend in which we're talking about. Like, the crowd was probably talking about Marcus Mariota. The same trend that happened when Vince Young finally crashed out. The same trend when you realized Jake Locker wasn't the guy. That to me is a very strong, like, it's a very strong point to be made right there about what's what when it comes down to the quarterbacks that play here in Tennessee. Now, again, have had some really good wide receivers. Running backs has always been the thing. Maybe it's that side of it to where you just get a guy that caters to the run game more than he caters to the actual passing game. Or maybe you say you get too many front runners to where when they get an opportunity where they have some adversity, they crumble a little bit. And I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill is crumbling, but hearing this fan base and this crowd talk about Ryan Tannehill, if I continue to hear that as a player, I'm like, get me through this damn season so I can get out of Nashville, Tennessee. That's the way I'm going to think as a player.
I don't know if he's listening or not. I have no idea if he's heard any of it.
But okay, I'm a former player. I heard some of the rumblings of stuff that was either said about me or my teammates.
I guess I'm just saying the point about there being more pressure here, there's not. If you don't have a quarterback, your franchise is unhappy. Backup. What's the old adage? The backup quarterback's always the most popular guy on the team, unless you got an Aaron Rodgers or you've got a Patrick Mahomes. It's trying to find that guy. It's a franchise that hadn't been able to find that guy since Steve McNair. Period. Regardless of how many high draft picks that they've had to do it. Vince Young, it didn't work. Tannehill was not brought here to be a savior. He was brought here to help challenge Marcus Mariota.
But he turned into one, and now it's actually looked like you're a quarter of a tank left.
But nobody thought he was Patrick Mahomes. Nobody thought he was Josh Allen. Nobody thought he was Tom Brady.
Okay, that's true. But the point was this, though. When Ryan Tannehill got the keys to the car, Ryan Tannehill took off and drove it like a bat out of hell. True? And as soon as he got in and he got his own seat covers and he put his pine tree up on the rearview mirror and he got it washed and threw some 22s on it, it seemed like the car starts to fall apart. And that's where I think the frustration kind of comes from a little bit with this fan base. It's like everybody that you get in comes in and, man, keeps bringing you flowers week in and week out. And then they stop bringing you flowers. And it's like, well, what happened to the thing you used to do? I'm looking at this list, and every quarterback since Steve has done that. They brought flowers to dinner every day. They opened up your car door every single date. And now Ryan Tannehill just goes to his car. Or the fact that people probably look at him like, yeah, there's Ryan right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, there's pressure everywhere to your point. But this trend happens far too often. And then to have a guy like Marcus Mariota say, man, I lost myself in Tennessee. publicly say that I didn't like the guy that I was becoming. That's a hard take to have whenever you're a professional who's a franchise quarterback and you just wanted to get out of Tennessee at that point.
Well, he lost his job.
Well, he wanted to get out also. He also said that he needed to get away from Tennessee.
Well, yeah, he did because he lost his job. If he was still the starter, he didn't want to get out of Tennessee.
But why? But again, my point, though, is he gets behind center, and then there's a crash.
Because he wasn't good enough and he got hurt. I'm just saying. I mean, are you saying the fans are responsible for the quarterbacks failing here?
I'm just trying to figure out why is that a trend here?
Because they've gotten the wrong guys and it hasn't worked. If Patrick Mahomes, we talked about this.
They're the right
Josh
guys
Allen.
for like 2 years.
If
max
Josh
here.
Allen had gone to Cleveland, how would it have worked? I don't know. But situations
it's frustrating
matter.
for sure.
It does matter.
Even at me looking at it, I'm like, God, dog, like the conversation we have about Ryan from especially the end of the playoff game has been, God, dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I ain't gonna say get up off his neck, but man, I'd be ready to just, you know what, y'all got it. Like, find the guy, because it doesn't seem like this base doesn't believe he's the guy. And looking at the rest of the AFC in general, you got to question, like, well, what do you have at quarterback now when you had something very nice in 2019 and 2020? I don't know. Every time, again, my point is every time a quarterback gets the keys to the car here, as of recently, they got about 2 years, and then there's a crash.
I mean, that point is relevant, except for the fact that they just haven't had that. I mean, who are those guys are stars? Who of those guys? Is it Tennessee's fault? Like, I'm trying to figure out what the overarching
argument was
is.
when I first took this job was Ryan Tannehill's a top 10 quarterback. There was also the number, and I know men like the numbers as far as it goes, comparing it to Patrick Mahomes, saying his passer rating was higher than most. His comeback wins are
nobody
better.
Believed that, though. Did you believe that, Mo?
I mean, the number said that.
I mean, the Tennessee Titans fans that want to bring everything to the table to defend their guys say that.
These were national networks putting that stat line up too, though.
Well, yeah, because they're trying to create content. Did anybody really believe Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes were the same quarterback?
No, but he performed similar.
Well, I mean, he got him. I mean, he was part of the number 1 seed team last year.
Come on now.
But I keep saying, Bam's point, you just have to hope that what you believed in 19 and 20 is the guy he can be in 22. You got to hope that Todd Downing in year 2 or Bobby Trees or whatever it is going to be what Tannehill needs. That last year was the outlier instead of 2020 being the outlier in the other direction. We got a lot of calls. I know. We'll get to all of them. 615-737-1045. There are a lot of calls. If you're on hold, we're just going to keep on taking them. It's JMart and Ramon, 1045 The Zone.
Okay, let's say you want a new Ford Explorer XLT in carbonized gray. I really do like that color too. With Copilot Assist, and you want to add the sports package to it. So what do? Well, you go to tworiversford.com or you call the non-commissioned sale team at Two Rivers Ford, and they'll custom order it for you. It's that simple. And when it gets manufactured, guess what? They'll deliver it right to your door. At Two Rivers Ford, you can now custom order any new Ford in any color with available features. It's their new Built For You program. And if you've got a trade-in, don't forget Two Rivers Ford always has the max trade-in guarantee, the max trade guarantee. I promise you that. There's a reason Two Rivers Ford has been around for almost 40 years, and that's because they make doing business easy. Their prices are always honest and fair, and there's literally never any pressure because the salespeople don't work on commission. That is the most beautiful part about that shopping experience. So find out why Two Rivers Ford is the most trusted name in the business. Call them today at toll-free 800-900-1000. You heard that correct. 1-800-900-1000. Go visit them in Mount Juliet by Providence or find them online at tworiversford.com. Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
So I'm disagreeing with Mike Otto. Appreciate him having his takes this morning. He just said, hey, the Ravens won a Super Bowl. They proved you don't have to have an elite quarterback to win. I'm like, how long ago was that? It's a little bit different now. The rules have changed, first of all.
Yeah.
And he said, is Matthew Stafford truly elite? Yes. He's pretty daggone close if he's not. That's why they just wagered the farm to bring him in, because they knew he could do a few things Jared Goff couldn't. And they just won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also, go look at that Ravens team. That team was pretty stacked too, by the way. That won with a non-quarterback. With Joe Flacco and with Dilfer, right?
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's get to some of these calls. Kevin is on line one. Kevin, what's
up,
going on?
Kevin?
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
Doing well.
Good morning.
I love the show, man. I love the show. Just want to tell you guys, a long-time listener.
Appreciate
I'm a
it.
Nashville native, man, but I'm a die-hard LA Charger fan, true-bred San Diego Charger, man. I just want to say, man, you got to put Herbert in the mix somewhere, man. I know he ain't went to the playoffs, but he's coming up, man. We got a better team around him, so you guys better watch out for them Chargers, man. I just want to tell you that.
They're going to be all right.
Kevin, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm frightened to death of the Chargers. But I would say this. I was thinking about it, actually. I think Herbert I would give him 50 Cent because he's got a great album. Now we got to see what the follow-ups look like.
Yeah.
I think Herbert's got the potential. I mean, he's top 5 quarterback in the league right now. Like, nobody is shading him. He is probably top 5 quarterback in the league right now in terms of pure talent and all of those things.
Okay, I get
but his
it.
team hadn't made the playoffs yet.
That's why I need to see a little bit more. He's got what we see to be the talent.
It's just like, it's the same thing you would think of Stafford. Like, Herbert reminds me of Stafford right now, but with more talent overall. The Chargers have to do right by him, and that's what they're trying to do because they've had a really good offseason. So that would be what I would suggest there. Cuzzo Chris in the borough. Chris, what's up?
Cuzzo Chris?
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. Hey, man, so it's kind of contradictory to say that Stafford's elite, but he sucked at Detroit and they never won a game, and then to say Herbert, he's a top 5 quarterback, but his team don't make the playoffs, but you're using the same sliding scale to measure Tannehill. I'm not saying Tannehill's better than either one of those guys. That's not what I'm saying. But it does take a team around them to do that. Part of the problem why, and you know, even if you guys remember, back at the end of McNair's time here in Nashville, he was getting booed. He was getting cussed off the field and all kinds of stuff at his end of his tenure here. And you know, and he was probably one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever had come through Nashville. So, you know, I don't disagree with what Ramon's saying. And what I think the biggest problem in Tennessee is we have so many Roll Tide fans that they're lazy boy GMs, and, you know, they think their quarterback should throw for 700 yards a game and 9 touchdowns. But what happens is the NFL is hard, gentlemen.
Yeah.
You know, and these quarterbacks get in there. They expect it to be easy like it was in college. And I guess quarterback at Alabama is pretty easy. You have elite receivers, elite tight end, an elite offensive line. But if Tannehill can get a decent offensive line and not get killed 77 times and have to run for his life and get rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds, we might have a chance. I think that Bobby Tree's coming in, and I'm a huge Austin Hooper fan. I think he's going to be great for us. I think that'll be a really good thing. I really think that the Titans have a chance to be really good this year. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks that don't ever make the Super Bowl.
Right.
Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. Was one of the best quarterbacks ever to play the game. You know, so I think that we have to have a good quarterback. You do have to have good quarterback play, but you don't have to have elite quarterback play. And you're going to see that in Green Bay this year. They implode. I'm calling it now. They implode. They don't go 500 this year with Aaron Rodgers. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, Cuzzo Chris.
You do have to have elite quarterback play to win a Super Bowl right now. You do.
As of late, you had to.
And if you don't have a quarterback, you should be drafting one every year. You should be doing everything you have to get one. Because you're going to run into a team that does have one. Now, your point about Green Bay, I don't think they are a championship contender because I don't know what they're going to do at wide receiver. I don't know how you replace Devontae Adams. I don't think they're going to have a losing record because I do think Aaron Rodgers is worth several wins by himself. But that definitely hurt him, to his point. 615-737-1045 is the telephone number. We've got, what do we have, Ian coming up next?
Is he coming at the top?
I think he's coming to the top.
Yep,
Yeah.
at the top.
Iron Eagle. We're going to talk some tournament. Alex, Dave, Josh. We want to get to your
I
calls.
want to hear y'all conversation about
really
this.
do.
I really do.
We really do. So hold on if you can.
Or
We're going
call
to do
back.
the best that we can to get to those because it's a really interesting conversation and there's a lot of nuance to be found here. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Hey, if hair loss has you down or if it's something that you're just starting to worry about, you're noticing those pictures, you just don't look the same as you did years ago, PAI Medical is the answer. They're helping thousands of men and women through the years when it comes to hair loss. Michael Ramsey and his staff, experts at what they do, simply nobody better. About a month ago, I went back in and I have laser treatments and decided to go in and do those because they're just a little bit easier. I had the surgery last fall because I noticed my crown was thinning. I went and met with them, and what they showed me that they could do was enough for me to say, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. If I can just take that off the plate, let's go ahead and do it. Surgical procedures, non-surgical solutions, they've got them all. There are multiple people at the Zone through the years that have used PAI and trust them, and these are some of the best people that you could possibly deal with. You will have full confidence in them, and you can have a conversation with them as well. When it comes to cost, affordable payment plans that can fit anybody's budget. They've been in Nashville for over a quarter of a century. All they do is hair. They're the very best at it. Call them today, just like I did, 615-376-6010, 376-6010. Talk to Michael and his staff, get their opinion, or visit them online, wegrowhair.com. That's wegrowhair.com.
It is straight up 8 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. According to reports, the Titans have converted nearly $11 million of All-Pro safety Kevin Byard's base salary into a signing bonus, and that creates much-needed cap space for the two-tone blue, $8.772 million in cap space, to be very exact. The LA Kings defeated the Nashville Predators 6-1 last night in LA. The Kings jumped out to a 3-0 first-period lead, all 3 goals being scored within the first 11 minutes. Preds were playing on back-to-back nights on the West Coast. To the NIT, Vanderbilt fell just short of a trip to Madison Square Garden. The Commodores fell at Xavier 75-73, stopping Vandy from going to New York for the semifinals. Scottie Pippen Jr., 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in what may have been his final game for the Doors, who finished the season with a 19-17 record. And the CBI semifinals, Middle Tennessee defeated Abilene Christian 85-69 to advance to the tournament final. That'll be this afternoon against UNC Wilmington. NBA Nets at Grizz tonight, 6:30 will be the tip. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Hour number 3, JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville. Go there and learn more. Do that today. 11-year NFL veteran involved for life, Ramon Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Jason Martin. Ramon excited about the possibilities of Baker Mayfield in Pittsburgh.
Jason, I know what kind of car you drive. Know what kind of car you drive.
When Buck gets here, it'll be a Ford. You can get his. To the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline we go. Ian Eagle with CBS Westwood One's with us on the line. Ian, good morning.
Hey, JMart, Ramon. Good to talk to you guys.
So Ian, I don't know if you realize this. I was telling Ramon this during the break. You're kind of the kiss of death for the state of Tennessee when it comes to the postseason, because you called Titans Bengals and you managed to call Vols Michigan. How do you feel about that?
Yes, this is a really slippery slope in life, as you know. The part of the equation that you have to be very hyper aware of is what kind of effect do you have on other people in life. And my goal has always been to brighten people's day and to be a positive force, to be someone that people are excited to meet or see or listen to. And obviously, right now I'm on a cold streak.
Well, it was a good game. At least it was a good game. The tournament's been a lot of fun so far. We'll get your thoughts overall on it. But Tennessee, Michigan specifically, that was competitive pretty much throughout. You had lead changes. Either team could have won it. Like that's kind of what you want as a broadcaster.
It is. And look, I go back just a couple of years ago where I was the toast of the town. I was not going to buy a drink in Nashville when the Tennessee Titans defeated the Baltimore Ravens in the playoffs, and a jump pass from Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill playing like a Hall of Famer. And I just recognize this is how it works in the industry. I got to accept it. I got to accept. One day I'm high, and the next day I'm low. So today is the low day. Yeah, it was a fun game. It was really competitive. And I must say, going into the game, I really thought Tennessee had a chance to be a Final Four team. I liked the makeup of that squad. I liked the versatility of their roster. I liked the savviness and maturity of the freshmen. And down the stretch, they just didn't execute well. They didn't have a whole lot of answers for Hunter Dickinson. We know that Michigan had been through a roller coaster ride of a season, and the roller coaster was actually on the upswing late in that game where Tennessee could not generate offense and couldn't get a stop when needed. So if you're asking me if I was surprised, I was very surprised. I thought Tennessee had the look of one of the premier teams in the nation.
All right, and as far as calling that game, Michigan jumped out early, and Tennessee battled back. But for you being someone to call the game, it had to be exciting because it was, I think, by the middle of the second half, about 11 lead changes at that point.
Yeah, it was a lot of juice. And doing games in Indianapolis, it's a great sports town, as we know, basketball town in particular. And they showed up. The fans were there day one, game one. Jim Spinarkle and I looked at one another, and we've been doing this together 24 years in the NCAA tournament, and realized that this was going to be different than some of the other sites. I'm not going to besmirch other towns, but usually it takes a little while for the fans to get into it. This was not the case in Indianapolis. They were ready for action. I think just people were excited that the format was back to where it was. Last year's tournament was very odd. It was great to have it, and we crowned a champion, and Baylor won the title, and there's no asterisk. But it was a pseudo bubble, and it was different. It was just a very different experience. This year felt like the real thing. I just think people came back with a lot of gusto and joy to be at the NCAA tournament. Yeah, Michigan, no one ever doubted their talent. It just was it was a weird year, and the Juwan Howard situation, as we know, in Madison, the melee with the assistant coach, and the line of congratulations at the end of the game that turned into something more. It did affect their team, and it may have affected their team in a positive way, which is crazy to say. But I do think they banded together, and there's a sense of togetherness and cohesiveness that maybe had not quite been there prior to that.
There have been some good images in this tournament, but to your point about Juwan, and we talked about, look, that's the lows, but the high would be the flip side of Kennedy Chandler getting emotional after that game and just sobbing, weeping into Juwan Howard, and Howard showing all sorts of grace and dignity in that moment. Obviously, he wanted to get to his team, but he understood that young man was hurting. And to me, that's the image of the tournament so far, at least the one that keeps popping into my head, not something on the floor. It was just that human moment.
Yeah, and you realize, guys, you do this every day. You're taking phone calls. You're going through topic over topic over topic, and you recognize that there is a real deep emotional connection for fans and sports, and it's often visceral. Well, now you go to another level when you get into the athlete's world, and some of them can stoically handle it, and others, it really hits hard. And Kennedy Chandler, that shows you how much that kid cared. And by the way, he played great. He was fantastic for Tennessee. All of his skills were on display in that game, and he was a problem for Michigan. But that moment where Juwan Howard is very much a part of Kennedy's memory of this, that he was the guy. It just happened to be timing where Chandler was starting to feel it, and who's there but Juwan Howard, the opposing coach, who was cast in such a negative light in the previous issue in Madison, and you're seeing a man's true colors in that moment. Juwan Howard's a very good man. There's competitive spirit there, and who knows what happens when things hit 10 on the scale. But you also find out about people in those kind of moments. He didn't just keep walking by. He accepted that responsibility and knew exactly what that kid needed in that exact moment.
With that being said, too, as far as what March Madness brings and the responsibility of it, well, the madness continues. St. Peter's, man, there's always a team. What have you seen from these guys, man, and how they've played in the matchups that the teams they've defeated in this tournament so far?
Ramon, they're just unflappable. Look, you've been a part of competition your whole life. So when you show up and you know that, hey, I got this, I'm just physically superior to this person, I know how to do my job better than them, and there's that vibe based on what level you're playing at. College basketball, look, we understand how it works. It's the majors, it's the mid-majors, and occasionally a mid-major can find a way, but more often than not, the major conference teams are the ones that are better equipped to go on these long runs. St. Peter's came in as a 15 seed. They were a surprise to win their conference. Iona was the clear-cut favorite under Rick Pitino, and they got clipped by Ryder. early in that tournament. So St. Peter's jumps in. They had been playing their best ball of the year at the end of the season. They're not a big team. Literally, you just look at their roster. The tallest guy on their team is 6'10". He's a backup that plays about 6 minutes per game. Their center is 6'8". Their power forward, who blocks nearly three shots a game, he's 6'7". This is not the makeup of a team that you would say could go on a long run. And they just have a real strong chemistry. And their head coach, Shaheen Holloway, he's like an old school guy, man. It's tough love, but they buy in every word that he says. They hang on the edge of it, and they do as he says. They follow his lead, and his lead is toughness and grittiness. He's played in this tournament. Ironically, Jim Spinarkle and I did the game in 2000 in Buffalo when Seton Hall came back and beat Oregon in the first round, and Holloway made the game-winning shot. You know, to go back even for us and watch some of that video, it's wild. It's 22 years ago, and now the guy is the toast of the town. He's probably going to be the head coach at Seton Hall when the smoke clears, because that's what happens when you have success. And a bunch of these guys are probably going to end up transferring somewhere, because that's where we are in college basketball. But you can't take away this moment right now. What they did to Kentucky, they completely disarmed them. They showed that they were not intimidated, and then they went toe-to-toe with them. And they were the ones in overtime that kept their wits about them. And Kentucky, I think it all kind of barreled over them, the pressure, the stress, and the tentativeness. That's what struck me the most in that game. They did not seem that like they were ready for the moment.
You do so much. And so you're calling all these games, and I know you're deep in preparation. You're looking at all these teams. You want to do the best job you can. You also cover the NFL. You also announce NFL games on a high level. And look, CBS with AFC contract means you're going to have a lot of fun this coming fall. But how are you navigating, preparing for something as big as important as the NCAA tournament while all of this NFL news is all over the place? And these aren't just small moves, Ian. These are like gigantic, earth-shattering, tectonic plate-moving kind of moves.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about it? When you do the NCAA tournament and you have the 8 teams and the one day it's 4 games, and it feels like you are not connected to the rest of the world. It just feels like you're separate. So my phone has alerts like everybody else, and your phone starts lighting up. You're in the middle of the game, and it does feel like you're in a casino. You don't know what time it is outside. You don't know if it's raining, if it's sunny. You don't know what's happening outside of your little sphere. And the phone starts showing me what's going on in the NFL. And every time I'm looking down, I could be in the middle of a Murray State San Francisco game, which requires all of my concentration. I'm like, what? Did that just happen? No. And you're like looking around to other people. You know, Jim Spinarkle is next to me. He doesn't live in the NFL. He's not concerned. He doesn't care. I care, and it's hitting me in that moment where I am detached from it. But then, as I begin to process, it's insane. You're right. It was a very odd dichotomy of what was happening out in front of me, what I needed to concentrate on, and then what was happening somewhere else that was going to have a profound effect on the 2022 NFL season. Very bizarre.
What games are you actually on the call for over the next few days?
Yeah, we're in Philly, so we're continuing with this St. Peter's story. We've got St. Peter's and Purdue, and we've got North Carolina, UCLA, which, look, by the sound of it, that sounds like a Final Four game. What are you talking about? UCLA, North Carolina, 2 of the most historic programs in the country, and they're both actually playing really good basketball. UNC nearly blew that huge lead against the defending champions. Baylor came back and got back upright in overtime. And UCLA is just going about its business. Everybody was shocked last year when they emerged as an 11 seed, and this year they're a 4 seed, much better equipped with their experience to maybe go out and even win this thing. You know, I'm not sure people have looked at them in that light, but why not? You saw the first weekend of the tournament. In my mind, it's completely wide open. Gonzaga got tested. Arizona got tested. Those were the 2 teams that everybody said, oh, they could roll. Hey, they could get clipped too. That's where we're at in college basketball.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you have both St. Peter's and North Carolina, because those are the two most improbable things that I saw was St. Peter's still winning it when it got to overtime. Once it got to overtime, it's like, well, Kentucky's going to win it. And they didn't.
Right.
And then Baylor had all the momentum coming back from 25 down, take it to overtime. Well, Baylor's certainly going to win it. They're defending national champions. They're battle tested. They're a 1 seed, and they still lost. Like both the two teams that you would have expected to crumble in overtime are the ones that won.
Yeah. Well, it's a reminder that things in this tournament and in college basketball in general can sometimes be counterintuitive. Things that you've learned throughout your life. Okay, momentum, that's going to carry them to the finish line, and then you could flip the switch. We're still talking about 18 to 22-year-olds and how they react in the moment, how a team reacts. Baylor, as a great example, won a championship last year, and there were enough pieces that were still there, so you assumed, okay, now they've got this. And North Carolina, who literally, guys, I don't know how much of the game you saw, there was a stretch where they literally could not get the ball inbounds. Like, not just one possession, 5 straight possessions were the most fundamental part of basketball they couldn't get done, and you just thought to yourself, oh, they're cooked. They can't even do that. How are they going to win this game? How are they going to convert big baskets when necessary? So it was wild, and I think North Carolina is really believing in itself. What they did at Duke did play a big role for them in building a confidence and conviction that this was not a lost season. They were a bubble team. They were a couple losses away from not being in this thing. So now they've got a chance to really make their imprint on the tournament.
Well, Ian, have fun in Philadelphia. We're looking forward to the call and the rest of the tournament. We always appreciate catching up with you, brother. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Thank you, Ian.
I really appreciate it. I'll bounce back in Nashville, people. I'll bring some good karma. I'll find it. I'll rediscover it.
Please.
There it is. That's Ian Eagle, the great Ian Eagle of CBS and Westwood One.
That's a great point about friggin' Baylor, man. They couldn't do a very simple thing.
No, they couldn't. They could not get the ball in bounds against that defense. It was unreal. We're going straight from Ian Eagle to Andy Staples. How about them apples?
Should be interesting.
Or how about them Staples?
Hey, I like Staples better.
We'll be right back. JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Busy third hour of the program today on this Wednesday as the sun is creeping out and the rain is creeping away. Thanks for that. Last night, no fun.
Man.
I lost power.
I walked out this morning. I was like, man, it's just super still this morning.
It was better than I thought it was going to be. It looked like the rain was still going to be there when we woke up, and it kind of wasn't.
I had to drive through that stuff through downtown at like 9:30 last night.
Hard
Straight
pass.
up?
Hard pass.
Well, first and foremost, what are you doing up at 9:30?
Had an engagement I had to be at.
Okay, all right, cool.
But I mean, I got home late, but man, that was a rough drive. About 4 or 5 times the car just wanted to go, nope.
We're going. Not we went. We're actually doing it in present tense here on JMart and Ramon. We're going from one great to another great. Iron Eagle to Andy Staples on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. From Iron to Andy. Andy, what's going on this morning?
I can't compete with Iron Eagle. I mean, come on.
Is there anybody that looks more like his last name than Iron Eagle, Andy?
No. Claude Bassett, I don't think looked like a Bassett hat. Former Kentucky assistant coach. No, I think that's you're right on target there.
Yeah, and you don't look like Milton from Office Space. So
John Chaney kind of looked like the Temple Owl. So,
He did.
That's true.
The guy who looks like his mascot. But.
Yep.
That's a fair point. So you wrote a piece back on March the 10th. We're going to talk, obviously, some college football here in a second. But you said, what could be the best job in college basketball just opened? Yes, don't laugh. It's Georgia. So Mike White has filled that job now. I want to ask you because I've asked other people.
Certainly a choice.
Yeah, that's certainly of all the names that were out there, his is one of them. What? Explain to me this. Why has it been so difficult for a school like Georgia, seemingly with the advantages that they have, where they reside and what's around them, the university, the money involved in the university and all that? Why has it been such a struggle to find a college basketball coach? And you can speak from a position of expertise, and even in the piece you mentioned this, as being as close to Florida as you are. Florida's kind of another example of a school that it took a while until they found the right guy as coach, and then it took off.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think you just have to find the right guy. And what's interesting is they plucked a guy from an SEC program who was not doing that stuff. So now the Mike White thing's interesting to me because, like, Mike White's results at Florida were not acceptable at Florida, but would represent an improvement at Georgia. but I think that just makes him like a guy before the guy, situation. I just think with Georgia, they've not really put the money into it that some of the other programs have. And I don't understand why, because they have lots of money in Georgia. Like it's not going to significantly detract from the football program if you kick another few million over to basketball. It's not that big of a difference to football. It's a huge difference to basketball. And I'm not saying you have to treat it like Kentucky does, but treat it like Auburn does, treat it like Arkansas does, treat it like LSU does. There is no excuse for Georgia to be bad at basketball, just like there really wasn't an excuse for Florida. And when Florida hired Billy Donovan, they were 2 years off of a Final Four run. Like Lon Kruger took them to the Final Four in '94. But it wasn't consistent. Basketball games were not events on campus. They changed that. They made it, and I think making the basketball game an event on campus is a huge thing, which you can do without even winning big. Like that's a marketing choices about where you put the student section. All that stuff can be done before you win, and then when you win, it just magnifies it and it amplifies it. I think Auburn's the best example of that. Auburn made some really good choices in terms of their basketball environment, made it fun, made it something you wanted to go to anyway, and then Bruce Pearl is winning, and that really just amps it up.
Mm-hmm. Man, Andy, when you come on here like Jay said, we talk about college football, and I love talking about my Vols with you and all of that, and I'll get to them eventually. But I don't think anybody in college has a chance, man, because you want to know why? Colin Cowherd yesterday tweeted out.
Oh, he's definitely a college football aficionado.
You know where I'm going. Some are calling the USC practice, some are calling it the greatest practice ever on the college campus. It's what he said. Also, they had Ronnie Lott there. What are we going to do with college
USC,
football?
Man.
It's over, man. No, I'm pretty sure that is Colin leaning into his reputation as as the guy who defaults to like, oh, I guess I'll just talk about USC. I think this is remarkable self-awareness from Cowherd. That tweet was pure troll and it worked. Like I was watching people lose their minds over that yesterday, and I'm like, this is good. I'm not used to this from Colin. This is just a little more edge than I'm used to from him.
And so you hit an age, Andy. We all hit that age where it just gives no bleeps, and it just felt like that's what that tweet was.
Oh, that he was having fun there, and I'm here for it. I appreciate that because I like that he went completely over the top.
Yeah,
and leaned into that reputation of, oh, I don't know anything about college football, so I guess I'll just say USC is good.
So with that though, and like that's got to be a little bit of the Lincoln Riley effect though, that he's going to be able to coach up that team, and we got to have somebody out of the Pac-12. He's capable of that, you think, right?
I think. Now I want to see more development along the line of scrimmage. Got to have some good D linemen, which USC has not had in a long time. They've had some decent, like J.Q. Faley was a really good D tackle, a good college D tackle. But you think about where are the dominant edge rushers? Where are the top 5 picks on the D line? Like USC had all of that. They also had first round offensive linemen. They had first round receivers. Like when you go back to the Pete Carroll era, they were loaded everywhere. If you look at them now, they've had the occasional good offensive lineman, but never a good offensive line, which, Ramon, you understand that better than I would.
I get that, yep.
But and then they've had good quarterbacks, and they've had very good receivers, but they've not been loaded all, top to bottom. So, you look at Oklahoma, they were not loaded top to bottom. They were certainly better on the offensive line, but Bill Bedenbaugh, the offensive line coach, stayed at Oklahoma. So that's the part that Lincoln Riley has to get better. I think they can pretty quickly become the best program in the Pac-12. But I will say, Dan Lanning at Oregon inherited a great roster from Mario Cristobal. Like, they got dudes up front. Utah always has dudes up front. So you got to be able to overcome that. And I don't think that's a quick fix necessarily.
Yeah. So another thing that you did last year, Andy, was you worked with the Jaguars. You were covering the Jaguars in the offseason. I don't know if you know this, but your colleague Mike Sando over there, who we have on pretty frequently, wrote a little piece about Urban Meyer and about the Jaguars last year.
Might have read that. Yeah.
I feel like you might have. How much of that is on point with what you experienced, what you heard about? Was any of that surprising? Is there any part of it where you're like, yeah, that's probably not true, but it's still good in the story?
Well, no, I think it's all true.
So you don't think you knew who Aaron Donald was?
Beat writer when he was in college. No, that sounds like an unfunny person trying to be funny.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm sure he knew who Aaron Donald was. I'm sure he framed that in a way where he thought he'd get a laugh, and it didn't get a laugh. So, yeah, I mean, look, what I wrote when he got the job is there's some things about his coaching style and about the way he handles losses and that are going to have to change if he's ever going to have a chance at the NFL. And he clearly didn't change anything. He said that he talked to former Florida and Ohio State players who played in the NFL to kind of gauge how the dynamics work in the locker room. Clearly he didn't listen to him if you talked to him. So, like, you can coach, or you could. See, that's the thing. Even in college now, with NIL and transfer portal the way it is, you can't coach through intimidation and fear like that in college anymore.
Right.
Like, that ain't going to work. So, I don't know what made him think it would work in the NFL.
Do you think he's going to change, or do you think that – I mean, I agree with you, and we've talked about this week. It's like you can't even do that in college anymore because of just what you just mentioned. So what is Urban Meyer going to do at this point in time? I don't know. If he can't succeed doing it the way he's always done it, and he's pretty stubborn, it appears like, to try and change – I don't know where the road goes from here for him.
Well, he's kind of rich, so he doesn't really have to work.
That's fair point.
He doesn't want to.
That's fair point.
I would imagine he can talk about college football on Fox, and that's pretty much that. I mean, there would be somebody in college who would offer him a job, but I'm not sure it's any job that he would be willing to take.
Yeah. With that being said, too, about Herb not being able to he not being able to handle the NFL, but his methods could work in college or had worked in college too. We're seeing now these NIL deals come about, and I'm not saying this is why Coach K or other old school coaches are getting out of college sports, but there's got to be a different world for guys who are just able to rule their nest the way they always have. And we got rumors now there's a kid out there that received like an $8 million NIL deal. Like, that's richer than some rookie.
That's true.
But you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
how are you able to control a kid that's basically making more than his position coach in college?
Way more.
Well, you're not, but we see examples of, they're good position coaches in the NFL, and none of them make more than their best player.
Yeah.
So somehow the dynamics work in other leagues. I think they'll figure it out, but there will be some difficulty, and this market is going to be crazy for a while until it finds its level, because this is basically a new market. We don't know what anybody's worth quite yet.
Yeah.
And so you go, heavy up front like that for a guy, he better be good.
Yeah.
I mean, if he gets there and he's not good, then you're dealing with a lot of different dynamics. But look, that's part of the deal. I mean, private employers in America deal with those dynamics every day, and somehow we're not all punching each other because we make different amounts of money.
Yeah.
Nico to Tennessee. Obviously, it's pretty early and things can change, but he chooses the Vols. How much of that's NIL? How much of that is watching Heupel and feeling like that would be a fun place to be, the atmosphere, all of that? Like, what does that mean to the Vols program?
It's a big deal, because you think about James Banks was the last 5-star QB recruit to commit to Tennessee, and that was when I was covering Tennessee 20 years ago. So, I mean, you think about how long ago that was, and Tennessee has not been in the mix for those guys and that type of guy. So I imagine NIL is a big piece of it, but also if they had stunk and if they were running the same offense they were running under Jeremy Pruitt, I don't think you would have considered him.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, the beauty of being able to be ahead of the curve or riding the wave of what's new, is the idea that you get to attract these guys in your team like that. But mainly it's been offensive guys we've seen get these types of deals. How are you going to be able to get a defender, to the forefront of you to say, I'm that guy for you?
D tackles have been getting these kinds of deals for 100 years.
This is true.
Listen, the bag man knows who's valuable on a football team. Always knew who was valuable on a football team.
Yeah.
My guess is the NIL collectives will also figure that out.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about this crop of quarterbacks going into the draft now, Andy, compared to maybe how you felt about them a month ago?
Same thing.
Okay.
I still feel the same way, and them working out in shorts isn't going to change anything. Yeah. I knew Malik Willis had a nuclear arm. Like that was never in doubt. And like I said, I think we talked about this about a month ago. Matt Corral's the one guy, if it felt like I had to start somebody this year, he's the one I'd take. Malik's the one I'd take if I knew I could bring him along a little bit slowly, because I think he has the highest ceiling of him.
Yeah.
Well.
And, okay, speaking of just quarterbacks, it seems like as far as the NFL goes, a lot of teams are making moves that they never have before because they don't trust this group coming out this year. But as far as next year, you see some teams doing a little tank for whoever moving forward to get the Bryce or the kid out of Ohio State?
I don't know that you have to tank. I think this is going to be a pretty deep class.
Okay.
Like Tyler Van Dyke at Miami. That dude was awesome down the stretch. He's going to be very good this year. He's 6'4", 225. Like, it's not even one of those where you got to be like, well, he's 5'10", but you can really play. No. He's everything. And so you got that guy. C.J. Stroud is going to be just off the charts, I think, when he goes into the draft industrial complex. And then Bryce Young, you've seen how good he is. Now, there will be questions about his size, but I don't think you can argue with his results. Sort of like the same thing with Kyler. you can't argue with the results.
Yeah.
And then you go down the list. This is going to be a deeper quarterback class, and I think there'll be teams that are happy that they waited if they didn't jump in. That I think being forced to draft a quarterback this year, if you feel like you got to find your starter this year in the draft, that's a tough place to be. Next year, I'm not sure that's going to be such a tough place to be.
Yeah.
So you and Ari over at The Athletic did a bracket for cliches in sports. Tell us what the overall 1 seed, in your opinion, would be here. Who's the Gonzaga here or the Arizona
Stars
here?
matter.
Stars matter. There
Stars
it is.
matter. That's the theme of our podcast. Now, the one that got upset because I had the people vote in the first round, and I was too lazy to put the round of 32 matchups on Twitter to get votes. But the one that got upset by the 15 seed in the first round, it blew my mind. Low Man Wins was my 2 seed in the cliches because they're true region, and it got upset by I think it
hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
I hate that one.
I hate that one too.
Oh.
No, sometimes talent that doesn't work hard still beats hard work.
I've
because
seen
talent
it.
is talent.
You know how many times I've seen talent just walk out on the field and like, I'm here now.
Ramon, you played in the league. There was a lot of talent that maybe didn't have to work as hard.
And truth be told, it's rare when a talented guy does both, okay? Just to throw that out there to you. Oh.
So the other one that I thought was going to be the most tightly contested, the best 8-9 matchup, was from the press conference standards region, and just narrowly, by the tiniest of margins, we're going to be multiple on offense lost to we'll have an attacking defense.
Multiple on offense turns into what? 1 or 2 plays?
Yeah, well, multiple on offense just means you're going to run a bunch of different formations, which I hope you're going to run some different formations.
No, trust me. It's usually the same 3 plays and multiple looks. That's
right.
all it ever is, man.
Dressed up differently. Exactly. Yep.
Andy, great stuff, man. We appreciate it as always, brother. Have a good week.
That's awesome, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's Andy Staples. I like this bracket. We're gonna keep talking about this a little
Love
bit.
that bracket.
To finish the hour. It's
Can
really
we
funny.
take
There's
that?
a lot of these that are really funny.
Can we take that from Andy?
We can take whatever we
You
want.
damn right we can.
Coming up, we're gonna unveil our cliches in sports bracket. Number 1 seed is Yoink.
I love it. I'm taking that. Thanks, Andy.
We'll come back. It is JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
Imagine if the first way we did things was the only way and it just stayed that way for what felt like forever. That's what happens when it comes to selling your home. You list your house and you have to keep it show ready because you never know when somebody want to come by for a quick look. Or you have dozens of people marching through your home that may or may not be serious about buying, and this goes on and on until the right buyer comes along. Well, that's all changed thanks to Open Door. And it's Ramon Foster, and I want to tell you what I did. I went to opendoor.com and I put in my address and home info, and I got an offer back in no time. Open Door takes a look at your house along with recent sales in your neighborhood to come up with a very competitive offer, a real offer. It's no listings, no strangers, and no stress, and a real competitive offer in minutes. Just go to opendoor.com/WGFX and get your free offer. Open Door is a new way to sell without all the hassles of a traditional home selling. You'll know how much you'll get, and you can close when you're ready, and you can do everything online. Go to opendoor.com/WGFX and get your free offer today. That's opendoor.com/WGFX. And offer eligibility varies, and Open Door is represented by Open Door Brokerage, Inc., license 020611130 in California, Open Door Brokerage, LLC, and its other markets.
Welcome back. JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. The 1 seeds in the athletic bracket that Ari Wasserman and Andy Staples put together, which is cliches. Stars Matter, number 1 overall. And that is cliches because they're true bracket. The code words bracket, number 1 seed is I committed because they had a family atmosphere. i.e., I got $8 million or something to that degree. In the crowd on your TV bracket, number 1, quarterback and wide receiver are roommates. Yep. Hear about that one all the time.
Yeah, you do.
Press conference standards, no one believed in us. That's the number 1 seed in the press conference standards. 16 seed in that region is we have a 24-hour rule.
I love that one. I'll be real with you.
What?
I like we have a 24-hour rule. I do love that one.
Number 5 seed in that region, the team is closer than ever. 12 seed, of course he can recruit. Look at his wife.
I've never heard that.
Thanks, James Franklin.
I've never heard that.
Yep.
Really?
That's a James Franklin thing.
Stop.
Number 4, our new coach is a man of the highest character and principle.
Is that Urban Meyer?
Zach Smith. Number 13, we play for the name on the front of the jersey.
No, I'm trying to get to the league, but I love that phrase, though.
Now, this is press conference standards bracket. All of them have different kind of teals. 6 seed, there are no easy games in this league.
Why are these so hilarious?
Number 11 seed, as good of a player as he is, he's an even better person. That's Bobby Trees right there. That is Bobby Trees.
I use that one a lot. Oh, that's bad.
3 seed in the press conference standards region. We have to change the culture. Yeah. We said all about the Vols doing the hiring search and Pruitt and everything.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah. 14 seed, they're playing. You have to give our opponent credit.
Why are these so good and just smacking me in the face right now?
Number 7, it's not a 4-year decision. It's a 40-year decision.
I never heard that one.
May I interrupt you for just 1 second to go back to the Vanderbilt change the culture thing? No one was asking you to change your logo. It was fine.
Now, here it is.
Hey, Vandy with the V you ripped off from Virginia.
Yeah. We all saw it.
Did you see Villanova troll him last night, too? They say you should have kept the old logo.
Hey, you should have just. Hey, you know, this would have worked. You could have gone with VD.
This is a rebranding of establishing our identity. That's called euphemistic language for changing your logo.
7 seed, it's not a 4-year decision. It's a 40-year decision against 10 seed. We just didn't execute. Number 2, we need to create adversity. Against number 15 seed, this was our best summer ever in the weight room.
Oh, who was it? Just somebody just said that. It was actually Hypo talking about the change of the running backs. It's like they didn't even went through the summer.
Code words. I'm going to read these real quick.
Please.
1 seed, I committed because they had a family atmosphere. To 16, he's twitchy.
Twitchy is.
Do we have high motor somewhere in here?
Yeah, code word. Oh, it's going to be here. Number 8 seed, I can't speak about an ongoing investigation.
All right, Alabama.
Against 9 seed, he's sneaky fast.
We need strong.
That means he's a white wide receiver if he's sneaky fast. Right? Doesn't it? White cornerback, white DB.
Oh, hard.
Sneaky fast.
You said it.
I'm not wrong.
No,
if we want to talk about code words, he's articulate.
Yeah, well, we ain't done.
Oh, now.
Hey, man,
I hit it, didn't I?
Hey, man,
yeah.
transcripts ain't right in the South.
Did. Transcripts ain't right. Come on, Irv.
Number 5 seed, we only offered the job to 1 coach.
Lies.
12 seed, we've simplified the defense and we're flying around. Number 4, he's a gymnast.
I don't know if I've ever heard that.
I've heard that.
It's the 4 seed?
Yeah, that's a high seed.
That's a high seed.
13, recruiting is about relationships.
That should be the 4
That
seed.
should be the 4th seed.
It's about, I'm loving it.
McDonald's arches.
6 seed, discipline will be handled internally.
Yes, love that. That's
Against
Saban.
11 seed, he's got a high motor. Number 3, this is higher than 3 to me. He's a coach on the field.
There it is.
Yep.
Yep.
Which is so true. I love that one too.
Number 14, he's gritty.
Yeah.
Number 7, we're going to do it the right way.
Yeah. That's a lie.
Against number 10 seed in all caps, no interviews, respect my decision.
Is that a high schooler or what?
Number 2, we want a blue-collar team. Against 15 seed, they came here to get a great education.
By the way, do you think anybody under the age of 30 even knows what blue-collar mentality means?
Can I be real for a second? It took me a while to understand what that was when I was younger. What is a blue collar? I wear jeans all the time.
That's 2 of the brackets. We'll do
That's a blue
couple of
waist.
the others. We got Rhett Bryan coming in after the top of the hour. We're talking about Bobby Trees and Hoop and Matt Ryan and a bunch of stuff with Rhett. That's coming up. JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
I'm high.
Hey, go schedule a free LASIK consultation at LASIKMD.com right now. Like, listen to me and do this. If you've been wearing glasses or contacts and it's just kind of a drag. For me, it was a long time with glasses and contacts just never worked. Couldn't see out of my left eye properly because of an astigmatism. It didn't matter what they tried, weighted lenses, toric lenses. I felt hopeful, and then I just couldn't see right. And so I went to LASIK MD. They weren't able to give me the basic LASIK that they're probably able to give you, but they were able to give me a different procedure. It was a little bit more advanced. It's required a little bit more since that point, but they were honest with me up front. They did what they thought that was going to be best for me. They could have probably given me the basic LASIK, but they gave me what I needed, not necessarily what I wanted in the moment. And so I feel so comfortable telling you, LASIK MD is where you got to go. Dr. Jason Greenberg did mine. He's done over 80,000. LASIK MD's done over 1 million in North America. Yours should be the next one. A lot of our listeners are going in saying, yeah, heard JMart talking about it. See if I'm a candidate. Let's see what's going on. They also have a low price guarantee. They'll match the competitor's price and then take off an additional discount from the total cost of your procedure. The advancements right now, the tech, all of it is off the charts. This is the time. If you've been thinking about it, get off the fence. Go to LASIKMD.com. That's with a K, LASIKMD.com. Get on the schedule for a free LASIK consultation. See if you're a candidate. If you are, it'll be one of the best decisions you have ever made. It'll be 10 minutes in a procedure, maybe a day of mild discomfort, and you're going to be good to go. I can't offer you anything better than that, but LASIK MD can. LASIKMD.com, LASIKMD.com.
9:03, good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer. The Tennessee Titans have converted nearly $11 million of all-pro safety Kevin Byard's base salary into a signing bonus, creating almost $9 million in cap space. Also, the Titans have just formally announced, they've sent out the press release that says Robert Woods will be coming to Nashville, announcing the trade of the draft pick to the LA Rams for Robert Woods. The LA Kings defeated the Nashville Predators 6-1 last night in LA. Kings jumped out to a 3-0 first period lead with all three goals being scored in the first 11 minutes. To be fair to the Preds, they were playing on back-to-back nights on the West Coast, back in action Thursday night at Las Vegas. One game short for Vanderbilt to make a trip to Madison Square Garden. Commodores fell at Xavier last night, 75-73. That kept Vandy from making a trip to Madison Square Garden for the NIT semifinals. Scottie Pippen Jr., 28 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists in what may have been his final game for the Doors, who finished the season with a 19-17 record. The CBI semifinals. Middle Tennessee defeated Abilene Christian 85-69 to advance to the tournament final. That'll be played at 4 o'clock this afternoon against UNC Wilmington. And to the NBA, Nets at Grizzlies, 6:30 tip for that tonight. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Fourth hour, hashtag fastest 4 hours in radio is upon you, upon us. Blessed to bring it to you courtesy of All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. allfourseasonsgarages.com/Nashville to learn more. What's happening right now?
Nothing. I said
No, we're not.
something
No,
on there.
you're not allowed to repeat what you said.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Tell
That's
me
exactly what
during the
happened.
commercial break.
It's not that.
Trying to do a show
It
here.
ain't that funny. He's just Shafe always got something in my ear.
Ramon
man.
Foster, Jonathan Schaefer, Rhett, Bryan, Jason Morgan. Go ahead with whatever you're about to hit.
No, I just did. I
got
already
nothing.
did. I already played
Oh,
it.
Iron Eagle. Yeah. All right. So we were reading the Andy Staples bracket that he and Ari Wasserman put up about cliches in sports. It's how they're doing their bracket. And they had the in the crowd on your TV bracket, the press conference standards. These are regions, code words, and cliches because they're true. Stars matter versus the triple option is a big play offense. Play through the whistle versus it's a game of two halves. It's a game of inches versus the game is won in the trenches. 4 seed, we're taking it one game at a time to 13. You can't let one loss beat you twice. 6 seed, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. Against 11 seed, a prevent defense prevents you from winning. 3 seed, keep your head on a swivel.
I love that one.
Against 14 seed, the hidden yards are on special teams.
Oh, I hate that.
7, ball security
true.
is job security.
Yeah.
Versus 10 seed, play 60 minutes. 2, low man wins versus 15, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
How would I vote? The ones I love or the ones I hate more though? Like which the one I want?
I think it is the hate
This
deal.
the one you hate more. Advances on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's some good quotes in there, Rhett. I must admit, those are some good
Heard all
ones.
of them multiple times.
Oh my God. It's one, what did he say? The one I'd never heard before though.
The
yeah,
4
he can
years,
recruit.
the 40 years
Yeah,
thing.
4 years, 40 years. And yeah, he can recruit. Have you seen his wife? I've never heard that.
Yeah, that was James Franklin.
He really said that. That's whoa. Watch it.
Said I don't want to recruit or it's like I don't want an assistant coach with an ugly wife.
Hide your kids,
Because
hide your
clearly he
wife.
doesn't know how to lure talent.
Okay.
Wow. What a guy.
Yeah.
In effect, that's what he was saying. That's not a direct quote, but that's pretty close.
Golly.
Good thing he got money, right?
Glad you got your dream job in the bag up at Happy Valley.
Glad you got money, bro.
Rhett, what does Bobby Trees, who will speak to the media a little bit later on today, now that deal is official, and Austin Hooper do for you right now?
Well, I think you're already getting better on offense in terms of the tight end position in particular. You lose Jonnu Smith in free agency last year, and you never really had a guy who could do some athletic things like that. And the reason I say that about Austin Hooper, if you look at his career work, he's got 31 catches that are explosive plays in his career over 20 yards, 4 of them over 40. So he can move some stuff down the field, and he can block for you. He can, Titans fans, I love you, but when John Robinson re-signed Jeff Swaim to a 1-year deal, just understand there's a process to this, and that just happened to be the first thing that came out and was reported and this and that and the other. That didn't mean he wasn't going to do other things. And I'm glad that he went and got Austin Hooper, because I liked Austin Hooper when he was a free agent when he left Atlanta to go to Cleveland.
Yep.
Who was his quarterback in Atlanta, Rhett?
Matt Ryan.
What do you think of that?
I think Indy's better. I think Indy still needs some pieces on offense, though. They got
wide
the
receiver, left tackle.
They got the defense pretty much set, but yeah, they need, they need some things there. They re-signed Mo Alley Cox at tight end,
but he's more of a big blocking tight end.
That's
though,
right.
He
Doyle
can catch.
retired.
Jack Doyle retires. We don't know where we are with T.Y. Hilton.
That makes you wonder if he would have retired if he knew Matt Ryan was going to be the quarterback.
I think he was done.
He probably was.
I think he was
done. You still have Michael Pittman Jr. and Paris Campbell.
Lost Zach Pascal to the Eagles.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a spot that Julio may go to.
I mean, it would certainly make sense.
That's his
guy.
He knows
everything in the world he ever caught before last year came from that one guy.
It's interesting too watching AJ thank Julio too, and saying thanks for mentoring him. And they got another young wide receiver in Indy, Michael Pittman Jr. That I'm not sure what's Julio's goal moving forward. Does he want to go to Indy and win a championship? I don't think Indy's going to win the championship. Does he want to go to Tampa and compete for one legitimately? That's to be seen. If he, he's a free agent, he can decide what he wants to. I think if it was me and I was him, I wouldn't go to Indy unless he's just chasing the bag, because getting out of the South is between the Titans and friggin' the Colts. And what I'm seeing is I think he has a better path on trying to get to the Super Bowl, considering how quotation mark weak the NFC is with Tom still over there, and you have Green Bay that's not in a position to really make a move because their quarterback is
got the bag of all bags.
But they did,
which is what I told y'all
back
long time ago. He wanted the bag, and oh my God, it's crazy. Never mind, but yeah, that's a different story.
The thing I disagree with is the national folks automatically going, "Yep, Colts going to win the AFC South."
Some go the opposite way. I'm on the side that I think they're the favorites.
Hold up a second. You still have to play the games.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
The doggone schedule hasn't even come out yet. Let's.
I think it's fair to say it's a 50-50 proposition. I don't think you can just say one's clearly better than the other. I think both of them, depending on how the cookie crumbles, will be in the mix to win the AFC South. I think that's the only way that you can really look at it right now. The Colts did the best they could after doing something awful last year in terms of their quarterback spot. They found a way to pull themselves out of the mire just a little bit.
This move is reminiscent of 2 years ago when they got Phillip Rivers.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
I would say this. I think Robert Woods is better for this team than Julio was ever going to be. I think that move, I'm very interested to see if he's healthy, he can still play. He hasn't been in the league that long. He's the perfect kind of teammate that he's a Titan. Like when you hear him described, he sounds like a Titan to me. Just like a Ram. I mean, a lot of the Rams guys said that too, and they're known to be good too.
I very rarely pay attention to what Skip Bayless has to say just because he irritates the you-know-what out of me.
Yeah.
Did you see his tweet the other day? He's like, hey, them losing Woods, the Rams losing Woods is a big deal.
Yeah, it's significant.
You can have whoever else. He named the other receivers. He said, this one's going to leave a mark.
Yeah.
And that told me what I need. And look, Coach Vrabel had said it last year before they played him on Sunday Night Football. It's like he's one of the best blocking receivers in football last year, and he was number 1 per PFF, I think. But, the fact that he's coming off an ACL is going to have some people frightened a little bit. I just think the whole ACL thing is starting to get compartmentalized.
Yeah.
I think medical technology is moving in a place where guys are coming back quicker. Plus, you hear the term that it was a clean ACL tear. In other words, no other ligaments were affected. And you got to think about this. When they got Bud Dupree, he had just had his ACL surgery because it happened in December.
In November,
he did it,
wasn't it? November,
early
December.
December, and he got it in early January. So this guy's 2 months ahead of that schedule to be able to help you earlier in the season than Bud was able to. And that's individual to each person. That's no knock against Bud.
Right, no doubt. If you hadn't, read what Cooper Kupp posted, man, I'll just give a little snippet of what you're getting here in Nashville. The first paragraph of it says, "There aren't any words that will do Robert Woods the justice he deserves for what he has meant to me over these last 5 years. The standard for what it means to be a pro about your craft, the standard for the sacrifice required to elevate the people around you to be their best, the standard in walking the walk." I might as well just finish it. "There's no doubt in my mind the incredible impact he has had on the transformation of the LA Rams for the better. Success is found in the mud, and the only way to effect positive change is by getting your hands dirty. I've appreciated his respect for this and his willingness to get his hands in the dirt so he could leave his fingerprints on this organization. The culture that we live by, the attitude we take to the field, the mentality in which we prepare, all molded and shaped thanks to Bobby Trees. Thank you for everything, Woody."
That is a Tennessee Titan, what you just described.
What?
That's exactly what John Robinson and Mike Vrabel
He ain't even retiring.
Yeah.
And God, dog.
It's just clearly he was the leader.
That's powerful.
He was
And
the
clearly,
leader in the locker
per
room.
the words of Cooper Kupp, showed him how to be a pro.
And originally,
That's
originally he was the one.
He was.
Kupp ended up becoming the guy, and Woods graciously was fine to be 1B and do some of the other things that don't necessarily get you on the stat sheet quite as much as before, but it's very obvious that he handled it gracefully. And I don't think I've ever seen a negative word said by anybody that's ever played and or covered and or been around Robert Woods that isn't positive. And that right there, I agree with Rhett. That sounds like a Vrabel guy. It sounds like a John Robinson guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Only question mark is you just hope that everything surrounding the injury is good to go and you're ready to rock. When we come back, I know Paxton wants to ask Rhett a question, so we'll lead off with Paxton's question and we'll jump off from there. It's JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone.
Spring weather in the South can get a little complicated. One day it can be warm or even hot, and you need to turn the air conditioning on. But at night, it can get chilly, and you need that little bit of heat to keep your house warm and comfortable. It's Ramon Foster. I have the heating and cooling company that can take care of all of your HVAC needs, and it's Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. With over 20 years of experience serving all of southern Middle Tennessee, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is a family-owned and operated company that prides itself for outstanding customer service. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offers cost-effective solutions such as free service calls for a repair and free estimates on replacement systems. They back their work with 10-year parts and labor warranties and up to 72 months of no interest on new installs. Be ready for the spring or a Tennessee summer or anything that may come your way by getting the best indoor air quality thanks to Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. With 2 locations to serve you, Columbia and Laos, and available anytime at springhillac.com. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go see them.
JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. Spotty Oddie. Cousin Paxton, what's going on?
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
So I did have a trivial question for Rhett, but I'll hold it off just for a second. I wanted to speak to, Bobby Trees, man, and y'all were hitting the doggone nail on the head, man. Like, this guy is going to come in here and just be the teammate, the example that A.J. Brown needs to see, and he's just going to be just wonderful for the overall organization. I also want him, even though he did not play during the time that the Rams were in the Super Bowl, I get it, he was hurt. I want him to just wear that ring and just show it off. Like, between him and Vrabel, y'all just had that ring and just show it. Almost like how the women do when they have their wedding rings. They just show it off. I want the boys to see that.
He went to Jared.
He went to Jared. Exactly.
No, he went to Genesis.
Exactly.
Oh, man, look, man, don't let me get y'all in trouble with the sponsors now. Come on now. But real quick, I want to ask you all because, I know Ramon, you're obviously in touch with the Steelers fan base. And, Jason, I'm assuming you're in touch with the Broncos fan base. But just on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how bad is Titans Twitter when it comes to overreaction? And where do you all see us in comparison to other fan bases? Just a little fun question. I'll hang up and listen, guys.
I think it's interesting because it goes back to what we were talking about on the quarterback topic earlier. And we were taking a bunch of calls, and we got a bunch of guests in a row. So we ended up having to cut them off. I think that it's hard to answer it just because we're so close to this fan base that we see all of the blemishes here.
Yeah.
And we're not necessarily seeing it around the league. A lot of times
I feel like there's the Twitter with other fan bases in the other 31 cities are similar.
It's very, very much so.
Everybody wants whatever they can have right now.
Only difference is it's not, and this is where I think it separates. It's not the daily interaction that we get because we do the job.
That's right.
If we were doing it in passing and we were embedded in it to speak about other fan bases, it'd be the same stuff. Because I guarantee you, there is a sector of friggin' Denver that doesn't like the Russell Wilson signing.
Not a lot, but there's a smattering.
But who will we listen to more though? It would be that group right there, the toxic side of it.
Well, I don't know. Just because I don't know how many people called to gush about a good move.
Like
a lot of people are excited and get kind of there.
To your point,
Ask
though,
Ryan Harris about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do right now.
Ramon, to your point, though, there's 5% of the populace you cannot please no matter what you do.
No.
It's a very, very small sample.
But, I mean, remember when Julio was brought here? Most people wanted that. There were a few people that did not. It's kind of the same way with Russ. There's a few people like, we gave up Noah Fant and all this. But most people are very, very happy because since the Super Bowl, the Broncos haven't made a playoff run at all. Like, they haven't made it, period. And so they went trying to find a guy, couldn't find a guy. Bridge guy to never was to all of this. And then you get Russ, and it's overwhelmingly positive for the most part from Broncos Nation. But I do think that the only thing, and we've talked about this before, there's this overlap between Titans and Vols fans where both of them they've been bruised so many times that sometimes any sliver of negativity is something that leads to an overreaction.
Yeah.
Lack of a better term, it's almost like there's PTSD involved in it.
Yes.
And there's a trigger there.
So the conversation I had earlier, right? Maybe you can give some clarity to it too. And we talked about it a little bit, but we might as well bring it on there.
Yep.
Is listening to Mariota. I want to keep calling Mariota so bad.
That's okay.
Okay, Mariota.
Marcus Mariota. It's like you're going to say his first name again.
2 times.
Yep.
He said something, and you heard the interview too. He was like, I never heard that. But he said, man, he was losing himself. He didn't like the guy that he was becoming in Tennessee. He basically was like he had to get out. I brought up the idea of, well, look, VY, as soon as he got the keys, same difference. Just bringing up other quarterback. Mettenberger, I know it wasn't a long stint here, but the same thing. But Tannehill gets the keys to the car. He's driving great as heck. And now, if for anything, I asked the question of either the fan base feel a certain way or is there pressure behind doing the job or what? But the opinion of Ryan Tannehill now, if you weren't strong-minded, you could crash out also. A little bit the same way that Marcus did.
Well, in a world
right?
where
you
we
see
don't,
where I'm getting at?
In a world where we don't really talk about mental health.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine the pressure that's on a guy that all the blame goes, if something goes sideways, don't get as much credit because Derrick Henry is really the synergy of your offense. But I'm glad you brought this up because I had a couple of things that I took exception to that Jason has said in the last couple of days and then this morning about Ryan Tannehill that I want to ask about. First of all, I think Jason is right from just a broad stroke opinion that the Titans have missed on franchise quarterbacks.
Fair.
In the case of Jake Locker. I mean, ask the Minnesota Vikings in that same draft. They took Christian Ponder from Florida State.
I remember that.
Yeah. So,
Did he win a national championship or something? No, couldn't have.
I think so.
No.
But anyway, with VY, I honestly think, and you guys touched on it, there was a lot in college that was good, and it didn't continue forward at the next level.
Right.
I feel like, I honestly felt like VY was living in the moment of the Rose Bowl a little too much.
All the time.
And you heard stories about him being, last in the building and first to leave and those kinds of things. I don't have anything to verify that, but clearly something went awry and, crashing out, as you say.
Yeah.
That happened. And Jake, you're right. Jake said he never really was in love with football. He was a baseball guy, but, because he got a large signing bonus being a top draft pick in baseball.
And I remember talking to him a few times. He was a very, very smart guy, but he was somebody with varied interests. Like he just, there are some people it's all football all the time and all that. He was definitely not one of those
he was an
guys.
outdoorsman. He loved to hunt. And now listen, great dude.
Yeah, he was.
Man, I love Jake Locker. He is a great dude. But I think that's really what the totality of the thing is that the franchise got set back because you missed on multiple franchise quarterbacks that way before John Robinson, way before Mike Vrabel. And the other thing is in those windows of time, particularly for Jake Locker, the team around him wasn't super great at times.
Okay.
And where what they've built now, speaks more to, Ryan Tannehill having an advantage. I mean, think about this. In 2008, they went 13-3 with Kerry Collins. But think about this. They also had Chris Johnson who could hit a home run anytime he touched the ball.
Yes, sir.
And he did it multiple times.
Yeah.
All right. So yesterday, I heard you say, Jason, I'm paraphrasing, but you don't see any way that Ryan Tannehill can get back to his 2019 form. And what I want to ask you is what leads you to believe that?
I don't know that I said that there's no way.
I'm paraphrasing.
I said that the most likely scenario is the Tannehill of now is not going back to that time. And it's not something you can really base on evidence. It's just based on watching things and seeing. Here's the thing. He could potentially play similar to that level and still not have the same result because the quality of quarterback and the depth of the conference has grown. It's so much tougher in the AFC right now. It's so much deeper. It's so much less certain because
But you
of that.
say all of that like all of the 2022 games have already been played. And we know that so many things change, ebb and flow over a season. Your schedule looks different as your own team that you follow. It looks daunting at one point. Things have a way of shaking themselves out after the first quarter of the season and then the next quarter of the season. And I'm not saying that listen, the AFC is a doggone arms race right now. Good Lord, it's amazing. Just the AFC West alone, which, by the way, the Titans play, all four teams, in 2022. But I took exception to that. And then the other thing that struck me this morning is you said that Coach Vrabel won the Coach of the Year award because of the lack of good play from Ryan
he didn't
Tannehill.
win it because of that. He won it because of the injury. I get all that. I'm saying that other guys were knocked in the Coach of the Year voting because of the quality of their quarterback. And you look at Matt LaFleur, he's never going to get credit because of that.
Because he has Aaron Rodgers.
Right,
yeah.
because he's got Aaron Rodgers. Andy Reid, even to some extent, Patrick Mahomes will soak up a lot of that attention. For Mike Vrabel, he lost Derrick Henry. But in most cases, the quarterback on the team is the best player on the team. He's the one that's most known. He's the one that's supposed to be the star on most of these teams. For Tennessee, it was a little bit different, but he had his quarterback for every single game. He had Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was healthy for every single game. I think it benefits Vrabel that the impression of Tannehill is different than a Rodgers, than a Brady, than an Allen, than a Mahomes, than
because
guys
he's
like
not
that.
the key centerpiece.
You
It's
can
Derrick
give
Henry.
credit to Vrabel because you're reticent or hesitant to give credit to Ryan Tannehill.
Because the thing I was thinking as you were saying that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. He lost his best player in Derrick Henry for a half a year, had 91 different guys on the roster, and still won the number one seed in the AFC. Now, things didn't work out the way we wanted to in postseason. And I think the bigger topic in all this is, had Ryan Tannehill not thrown 3 interceptions in the playoff game, would this conversation be as tilted as it is right now? Because I don't think so.
No.
But ifs and buts, candies and nuts. That ain't what happened. He threw 3 picks, and that's the end of the story.
I think it's just the playoffs, Moan. It's just
because here's the thing, and I know regular season doesn't get you diddly squat, but he's yet to be on a losing season as a starting quarterback since he's taken the reins over.
I don't know that anybody has to take that he's not good at all. I think it's that he is pretty good in a quarterback conference full of near to or certain elites.
But it's your opinion that an elite quarterback is what it takes to win a Super Bowl. So in other words, if you're saying that in a broad stroke, the Las Vegas Raiders won't do that, even though they have Devontae Adams now, because
I'm not saying
Derek
it's
Carr
impossible.
is not an elite quarterback.
Saying it's impossible is nuts. What I'm saying is, if you are placing things on percentages, if you have an elite quarterback, you have a leg up, period.
Oh,
Point
yeah,
blank,
sure.
end of story. Can it be done? Sure. But you can overcome a lot of deficiencies if your quarterback's a stud.
Sure.
He can will you to wins, things of that degree. And I think there are some guys that can do that. And there's a lot of other guys where things have got to be right. And like to the point about Tannehill and the flack that he gets, Moan, and to your point about that, I think another example of that would be something like Dallas, where Dak Prescott, it's from week to week. And I think Tannehill and Dak are extremely similar in terms of
now, to your
what
point,
you could see from them.
To your point about elite quarterback play and all that, Kansas City has one in Patrick Mahomes. They didn't win it.
That's
Josh
right.
Allen has it in Buffalo. They didn't win it. And that's why I can understand why you're saying that, but also you got to play the game.
This is true.
And I think with what I was starting to see in sample size towards the end of the year, this Titans defense going to keep them in a lot of ball games.
Definitely. And that's the point that I think Jay is getting to as far as the defensive is sold up. It is.
The bigger question is 22 going to be 22 of before?
That's one question. And the other part, are you still lacking one wide receiver, or is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine the guy? Because that's another signing too that happened.
Yeah.
You're like, well, the most steady Eddie guy last year, and I like to say steady Eddie every once in a while, but the most steady guy.
That's a bracket entry.
It is steady Eddie. But
fair point.
He was the most steady guy last year, if we're being completely honest about it. He was available for the most part. And
that's the reason. One of the main reasons.
So is he getting the bone this year? Pause. Is he getting the push towards the front of the line, say, hey, it's you, Bobby Trees, and AJ. Lead us.
Or would you
is
say
there another
is he
guy?
A 4? Is
Exactly.
Westbrook-Ikhine a 4?
When we're talking
and there's
about
something else to come.
I think there's something else to come, and I think it's probably in the NFL draft, if I had to guess.
Okay.
Like I said this, I don't know if you heard me say this a day or two ago, Rhett, but love Bobby Trees. Love that move. Extremely excited to see what that looks like. I'm taking Jahan Dotson if he's sitting there at 26.
I tell you who I'm taking if he's sitting there at 26 is Traylon Burks.
You like that.
He's
in SEC.
He's AJ 2.0.
Yeah.
And he's lined up in the backfield back there. You could do some Deebo Samuel stuff with him if you wanted to. In a place where you might need it if 22 needs a spell.
Yeah. So that's the other part of it, too, is 22 ready to go from day one when it hits? He should be good to go. And the fact that, who is it, Hilliard?
Yeah, Dontrell Hilliard.
Do we see them this rate in the early part of this offseason saying they're going to spread out Derrick Henry's reps this year? Is that a necessary thing?
The moves don't indicate that's what's going to happen, right? Is that kind of the fear that you're going to overwork Henry because?
I mean, eventually, Father Time catches up.
It does. It catches. It caught me.
It did with Eddie George.
Everybody.
But in terms of backs with high carries, and the elite backs are the ones who have continued down their path of, career path of greatness. to continue to carry it.
With an extra game.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I do know this. I know Mike Vrabel's smart enough that if he starts worrying about divvying up carries, you're going to lose a bunch of ball games.
That's true.
You do what you do in the 4 quarters that you got.
And the only reason I asked that, because we were getting Le'Veon and I think like year 4, whenever his last year he played with us. And our biggest thing was, when we have very dynamic running back, was get him to the playoffs. Get him to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And the one year that we did was the Jacksonville year. And we just wasn't good enough defensively, honestly, and probably as a team too, because we scored with them, just didn't score enough.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacksonville came out fire hot. But the idea was, again, get them to the playoffs. And that's why I think Derek is probably going to be the most important piece to doing this. And again, there we go, leaving out the guy in the middle, 1-7.
Right.
It's going to continue to be a tough.
It's just because the run game is the difference.
And I'm not knocking them at all.
No,
or the
it's
system.
just the difference
it's just
here.
the difference here when we're looking at the big picture of everybody else
it's
going
the
to
one
the quarterback.
team that doesn't run a whole lot by committee.
Exactly.
They had to by necessity for half a season.
That's right. Cousin Andrew in Portland. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Hey, y'all just hit on something that I've been thinking about when it comes to the way that we've been handling free agency and all this. Obviously, we don't have an elite quarterback, and obviously, a lot of teams in the AFC, it's the gauntlet, right? We've got stars everywhere, from quarterbacks to receivers. I mean, offenses are going to be just exploding this season. But there's one way to prevent losing against those type of offenses, in my opinion, and it's factual. A solid defense with a front four that can get to the quarterback without rushing, and a running game that can keep the other team off the field. And that's what the Titans are doing. I kind of feel like, I was concerned with their moves they're making, but right now I feel like we're playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. I feel confident in what we're doing as long as we can hit on our draft picks, maybe sign a guy here or there. But, I really think that we're stacking up to defend what the rest of the AFC is doing with their stacked offensive weapons. So I'm getting more confident with it, fellas. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Andrew. He makes a great point, because listen, when you're talking about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what people are doing. The teams that can rush 4 well and cover the rest, he has trouble with that.
That's true.
When you chase him out of that pocket is when he will eat you alive.
The other part of this defense, this Titans defense stacking up on the opposite side of what everybody else is doing, though, is this part, Rhett. The efficiency in which they operate got to be really good, meaning your front four got to get home.
You cannot give up explosive plays.
No, you cannot.
You have to be able to convert on third down on the running game of it.
Yes.
Because if they get you out of your elements, that's the only thing that's wrong with Andrew's theory.
Exactly.
Or is a flaw, shall I say.
And the other part of it has to be depth. You got to have quality of depth.
But you have a team that's a high-powered offense that gets you out of your, by turnovers, by whatever. It's a tough sled.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Facts.
Ink.
We need him.
We do. At least the sunshine came out today. Ink can be our sunshine on the way out the door.
I love it.
That's next. It's JMart and Ramon. Thanks, Rhett. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
brother.
good conversation.
Indeed, it is. We'll be right back. Inky Johnson here, 104.5 The Zone.
As leaders in disaster cleanup and restoration, the pros at ServPro are prepared for anything. Like when the relief valve in your water heater fails, pouring gallons of water into your finished basement. Guess what? ServPro is prepared for that. When an electrical shortage in your office causes extensive smoke and water damage, ServPro is prepared for that. Or that musty odor indicates you might have a mold problem. ServPro is prepared for that too. You need a lot more than just help cleaning up. That's why ServPro is your one-stop shop when disaster strikes. Not only do they have the equipment and expertise to clean up damage from fire, water, or mold, but they also offer a variety of construction services, ranging from drywall patching and document drawing all the way to complete structure rebuilds. There's just one call you need to make to bring your home or business back as good as new, and as soon as possible. If you're in need of cleanup from fire, water, or any other unpleasant event, ServPro is always ready to help. Call ServPro and the official downtown Nashville operators at 800-ServPro to see how we can help you get back to like it never even happened. The number is 800-ServPro. ServPro, cleaning, restoration, construction, and franchises are independently owned and operated.
JMart and Ramon, 104.5 The Zone. K-Love is a kid in Brentwood. What's going on, K-Love?
What's up, K-Love?
Hey.
Hey.
Good morning.
This is your time, buddy. What you got?
I want to talk about how Ryan Tannehill and what he needs to improve on.
Okay.
And I think he needs to throw better out routes and go routes. And I think we can, I think if we can get Velus Jones as a draft pick from Tennessee, because I'm a big Tennessee fan, I think we'll be really good.
Hey. We'll
Impeccable logic, K-Love.
Absolutely.
We need to get that kid involved in Titans Twitter.
He probably has a Twitter.
That'd be a better
that's
pick
pretty
than
solid
Isaiah.
right there, though. He gets better on his out route.
So
and
would
deep
me
ball.
be picking my nose?
He's got the arm, though, for the deep ball. Detail, man. Attention to detail.
That would help Tannehill. Get him more weapons. Velus Jones.
Velus, I mean.
He'll be a day 2 pick.
His hands are pretty good. If they are, we got to be good to go on that.
He's fast.
Whew. Yes, that he is, man. But it's a deep wide receiver pool this year, man.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to the draft, covering that also with Titans Radio this year again.
Yep.
So very much so looking forward. So we got a long night waiting for pick 26.
And then they'll move out of it and it'll just be like, well, okay then.
If they do that, Jay, I'm gonna come straight to your house.
I choose violence.
You don't have my address.
I do.
Do not.
I saved it. Remember that little get together you had
that you didn't come to?
I do, Ramon. You need it?
Hey, my fellow.
Hey, my daughter's about to be a year old. You could feel free to meet her once if you wanted to.
No.
You just take over for about 4 hours and babysit.
Man, I'm an expensive babysitter. I promise you, I got bills.
I'll get K-Love over there. K-Love, I'll get you $10 an hour. Isn't that what babysitters probably get?
No.
No, I know.
Minimum wage now. You got a nanny already.
Yeah.
He just said, yeah. But Jay's always talking about how poor he is. You're not poor,
It's
Jay.
3 days a week.
You know how
And
many
it's not
times
all day. I take over in the afternoons.
Yeah, after you get done playing the video game.
No, after I finish exercising and doing whatever errands need to be done for the home.
You still have a nanny, though.
Yeah, somebody has to take care of the kid. Somebody has to.
Again, you
For a
need to
little
put CG.
Unless you
on
want to
the-
put CG in here every morning, we'll babysit her here until 10.
Put CG on the yard, man.
On the yard?
Yes.
Oh, you're talking about in the
daycare.
We might do it next year. We're on a list.
Kids benefit for next year?
I actually think we have a spot next year now, but the lists are about 18 to 24 months out.
For daycare?
For really, really, and all of it is extremely expensive.
What?
Like it's obscenely expensive.
It might have been a month for us.
No, it's very, very long. All of them.
But I'm sure you're going to a very exclusive Brentwood daycare.
We were looking
though.
for anything that had decent reviews just to see what was out there.
God, dog.
You got to pay like finding fees to agencies to even get you in touch with most of them. It's not easy.
Wait a minute. The nanny world has headhunters?
Oh, yeah. Go to care.com. I'm talking about. Yeah, man.
What the hell?
It's tough on these streets.
Jay.
That's why we need people like Inky Johnson.
We really do, man.
Midweek motivation time. Ink, what's going on
That's
this
my
morning?
Dog.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Doing pretty well. Probably not as good as you, but
Yeah.
that's impossible.
I'm sure y'all got me beat. You know, I heard y'all talking about finder fees for nannies. Like, y'all got me beat.
Ain't we didn't live that life, man. That's Brentwood, man. I know you live in humble Marietta, man. So you don't understand Brentwood living.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
What do you think about Ink? What do you think about Tennessee landing a pretty
Nico
fantastic
Iamaleava.
quarterback here in a couple of years?
Iamaleava.
Yeah, man. I was texting with Hypo a few days ago, man. You know, I like everything he's doing. I like everything they're about. I think the culture is building itself from the inside out to land guys like that, and I think it's going to be even more. I think it's going to be incredible, man. I think we're watching the genesis of something special for years to come, and so I think it's awesome, man.
Well, that's a good start to your motivational speech. Vols fans want to hear that. We've turned it over to you to put a smile on their face. The sun's out. It was a lot of rain last night, but it's starting to feel good, and it feels like it's time for Inky Johnson.
My guys, yeah, man. I'm gonna start us off with a quote. It says, "Talking about our problems is our greatest addiction. Break the habit and talk about our joys." And so I was in Texas and Louisiana on yesterday, and I'm sure some of you guys may have heard, some of you guys may haven't, but it was some, tornadoes. It was bad storm. People lost their homes. It got rough around the way, right? And so I had to speak, and they didn't know if the speaking engagement was going to happen. They didn't know what was going to happen as a result of the weather, right? And so we ended up having an engagement late. Maybe like 500 people showed up. And when I spoke, I had a direction that I wanted to take my message. But I talked to some people prior to, and they knew some people that had lost some things as a result of the storm, right? And so when we were talking, the message originally was supposed to be about business, challenges, opposition, things that have happened as a result of COVID, right? And when I stood up on the stage, I said, man, can somebody share with me something that they're thankful and grateful for just as a result of life, right? Time, pandemic, right? What's happened as a result of storms. A lady stood up. She said, I'm thankful. I get to talk to my mother every single day in Japan. If the time hasn't allotted that, I never would got the opportunity to get those moments. Gentleman stood up in the back of the room. I'm talking about my man looked like he was supposed to be out of the movie 300. My man got traps up to his shoulders. My man said, I'm thankful I got to watch my first child being born. He said, I knew if things were back to normal, if I was back on the same schedule, I never would have got the opportunity to witness that moment. And he said, what's something you're thankful for, Ink? I said, man, I'm thankful for 3 p.m. He said, why 3 p.m.? I said, because I get to race a cat in the carpool line to pick my kids up, right? And people started laughing. It was like, you serious? I was like, absolutely. I said that the significance wasn't the carpool line. The significance was the quality of my life. The significance was the principle of gratitude. Like, gratitude is never tested until opposition and adversity happens. We speak gratitude every single day. Hey, man, be grateful for situations. Be grateful for circumstances. Be grateful for people. Be grateful for how things play out. But the true press of gratitude is, can we be grateful in the midst of opposition, in the midst of challenges, in the midst of uncertainty, in the midst of things not going our way? Every single day, man, wake up and find gratitude, locate our egos, and be grateful. Go make a difference. It's my time. God bless.